Winter Platinum Night Sports Auction. 2 cards, correct?
Yes, that's it.
But they are 2 incredibly rare, valuable, special, and significant cards. So let's jump right into it, because I am always fascinated when somebody has one thing that they not only collect, but they know every single thing about. And you collect the ancillary materials as well. It's not just these 2 cards. It's not just the Honus Wagner and the Ty Cobb 1912 Plows candy cards, which are available in the Winter Platinum Night Auction, February 27th and 28th, but a whole bunch of other stuff related to Plows candy. So let's talk about these cards, because this is what really got you into it, correct?
Yeah, and we've got to jump back. I mean, Robert, the way you introduced it, it's a little bit, you know, even as an older guy, I call it an obsession, right? I mean,
as a kid, right?
Exactly.
In Mineral Wells.
Exactly. So, you know, you drop back and we all are these little treasure hunting beings, you know, and the younger we are, the bigger the treasure hunting can be. And that's what happened for me.
Yeah.
As a little guy, and again, we're going back into the 70s, I was enamored with baseball. I was going to be a baseball player. It was sort of a bind with my dad and I. And I entered into the baseball card collecting arena from a couple of ways. I can't help but being a little entrepreneur business guy, along with loving the game. And I was fortunate that when I went about, again, this was in the early 70s when we'll call it the collectible nature. It really just started as an enterprise or commerce. And
you were in Mineral Wells, Texas, correct?
Yeah, that's where my pawpaw and mawmaw from Texas lived. So if you want to date it, I'm about 14 years old. So what was cool about that time is no one knew anybody's age. There's no TV on collectibles. There's no phones.
Right.
So I was a 14-year-old little venturer that was doing business in the Sports Collector's Digest, if you remember that periodical, right? That was it.
Right.
Trader Speaks was around. But I had wandered into the commerce loving baseball. And the thing I wanted to do was get out there and find treasures. And so coming from sort of a farming peanut background, we were farmers and not having much, and traders and antique traders and flea market guys, it was a real shopping ground for getting out there with collectibles and memorabilia. And one of the things that happened to me when I was a little kid, with my pawpaw, we went out to look at some clocks at an antique shop in Mineral Wells, Texas, not too far from where we are today. And we knew a collectible shop, and my pawpaw knew the owner, and the owner had given him a call and say, I know your grandson Gary Dean loves these cars. Well, I got a chest in from St. Louis that, Carl, you might want to roll down here with him and have a look, because I hadn't seen these kind of cars. I don't know anything about them, so, you know, my eyes light up, because what? We've got somebody calling with a treasure chest, literally, right? So we drive down there and get into the kind of the cobweb shops, and you've got all memorabilia of all kinds, you know, maybe more trash than treasures. And at the back is his chest that he'd opened, and it was a legit sort of traveling chest, family clothes photo album, big old photo album. He opens it up, and I knew Fatima T213 cards. He's playing, you know, the group cards that we all know. But behind that, Place Like Photos, was his group of Plows candy collection. Never heard of it, had no idea. And he asked if I'd buy them. I said, sure, yeah, I'd love to buy those. You know, hand shaking, I bought these cards.
Why was your hand shaking?
Because I knew I'd done so much. I'd traded cards, you know, and I knew what was out there.
Right.
I'd never seen these nor heard of them. And
but you didn't know, you could not have known at the time how valuable they were or would become, right? Because so many companies made cards that proved not to be valuable at all.
Right.
When I was a kid in the 70s and 80s, I had the Hostess cards, the Post cereal cards.
Right.
Those aren't worth anything. So you don't necessarily know that these are going to be something significant, right?
Absolutely. I did not have an idea, but you know, that old sort of treasure hunter, card collector is like I'd seen and gone to, again, to conventions up here in Arlington as a little kid, right? So all these cards had come through, and I knew enough to be dangerous. And I saw these cards, and they were so unusual. Why? Because they were a sepia 3x4 in a world that only had little cards that were kind of drawing or animated. And this was photography captured in a postcard, but it wasn't. It was a baseball card.
Right.
So I got those back into my, you know, my little chest. I had this little suitcase I carried, you know, like a little kid that had my stuff in it. I got back to the house, and I had an original, and I'm going to pull it out here and show it to you because it's kind of fun, and this will sort of exhibit. So this is the Sports Collector's Bible. This is 1977. And
I had one of those when I was a kid.
I've had it with me the whole time, right? Since that year. And I marked in the back when I got back to the house, the E300,
Right.
which I'd never seen, and which had just been discovered, 34 cards. And I was like, well, 2 of these aren't even on this list. And then I went, okay, this is one of those things that it sticks with you. You know, I can imagine on the beach, I lived on the beach growing up, if I would have found a Spanish doubloon,
Sure.
oh my gosh, I would have been going back, right? It's just that lit it up. And so I spent time collecting this little set. I then went out and I sort of started reaching around. Now the Honus Wagner and the Ty Cobb, they hadn't even been discovered yet. Pardon me, the Honus Wagner had not been discovered yet, the Cobb had.
Okay.
But they were not in this collection that I got. So I didn't have any of that, you know, that yeehaw moment where I got one of the big guys in a card that's never been seen. It was, you know, sort of that little guy in me going, well, this is going to be interesting because I found something no one else has. And Burdick hadn't put it in until later in the book, and so it really stuck to me. Now, as world progresses, we get older. So I was a collector, and I ended up selling my collection at the time, maintaining one of my cards with me because I needed to go to college. So I sold my collection in 1981, went to college, and then life carried on.
How many cards were in the collection at that point?
Oh, no, there was just 7.
Yeah.
I mean, there was nothing. It was 32 had been discovered.
But you had 7 of them.
Well, I had 7. 2 of them weren't even on the list.
Right.
And then I had a duplicate. Delahanty was a duplicate in there. It's crazy. But as we'll find out in our discussion, I'll let you know why that, you know, they were just really focused and these cards, there weren't a whole lot of them. And so to find any was pretty astonishing.
Right.
And so I sold the collection, kept these with me with sort of this nagging. And again, it's a big life, going and done a lot of things, but always, baseball has always been that glue, as we've all shared. You know, we all have the stories that we love to talk about, and frankly, they're kind of cliche by all of us now, right? But it really was something of essence. My father and I, the baseball of it, I met Mickey Mantle when I was young. I mean, just knowing Ryan, it just kept up its allure, and I had something no one else had. But you start getting older, and now I have the wherewithal to say, okay, there's something that happened to me when I was a youngster. And for instance, this postcard that I found, again, to perpetuate, this is from 1904. This is from the St. Louis World's Fair, 1904. Well, Plow's Candy Company was in St. Louis, and they were a part of the World's Fair, and we'll find out when we talk just how sort of big this world got in Middle America for the confectionaries. But I found this postcard on eBay. Well, when I got the postcard and looked at it, the date on it and the town it was sent to was Mineral Wells, Texas. What are the odds?
What are the odds?
And so it's those little God winks, right?
Right.
And so we have our real pragmatics of life and all the things to do. Then there's those wonderful little sort of dream moments, those things we love to get in the vibe of. And they exist everywhere, where there's coins or art or stories. But for me, these cards kept just winking at me. Because, I mean, I got chills on my spine when I saw that. There's one card available. Are you kidding me? And so there continued to be sort of a revelation of things that I could find. And then my world got a little bigger, and I was able to put out pursuit by friends and professionals within the arena, within our industry, and said, hey, would you guys go looking for me?
Right.
And I did some advertising, you know, a little bravado around trying to find it. Went out and searched through some auctions. These cards come up ever so often, and was able to pursue in that direction.
So I want to back up just a little bit, because we've gone from you finding them to selling them to rediscovering your passion and for them. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how you found out about the cards, what research you did when you were a kid, and how that research evolved over your adulthood.
Yeah, I mean, it really is sort of 100 miles an hour. Once I decided, you know, this is going to be in my life, I think there's a passion, a pursuit here that's going to be unique and original, and I need some help, right? So what I did is literally got researchers in Chicago and St. Louis that I hired.
Not in the 70s.
No, not in the 70s.
Right.
This was in, so the time gap between when I was a kid and sold them,
Right.
that 20-year gap in there, as I was quiet. I was having kids and
Right.
married and just building my collection quietly, but nothing within the Plows.
But when you were 14 and you find these cards and you find them in the book, do you then, because your resources are limited, you can't hop on the internet, you can't, look on your phone to figure out who these are and what these are. So how do you figure out, and you've written a book about it, we're working on other projects involving these cards, so it certainly became a passion veering on, I don't want to say obsession in a bad way.
I will.
Okay. I'm glad you did. Because I want to talk about when you find the cards that look like these, in 1977.
Correct.
How do you know what they are? Other than the fact they say Plow's Candy Collections, you don't know that they are.
Yeah. Well, what happened was, again, in the reference, let's just call it the background reference books that existed. There was enough around all the caramel collections, that were a little later, frankly. Even the Cracker Jacks of it all, which was the bombastic moment in the Midwest for.
Right, the big red cards. Cracker Jack had the red cards.
Yep.
You had the T206s. You had the cigarette cards.
And then you had a bunch of caramel cards on the East Coast, out of Philadelphia and so forth. And so you could sort of imagine, and it's what we do. I'm aware of what's going on. And I'm also aware that nothing like this has been found or is out there. And so I did my thing. I mean, there was only, again, back to the obsession of it, I found some letters that, again, crazy stuff that was written between the professionals of the moment saying, well, we have in our collection, 7 Plows cards, and the only 7 I've ever seen kind of thing. And these were from the gray hairs back then.
Right.
The 50, 60-year-olds. So I knew it was like, whoa, right? And they would list, who that they had. And so I knew they were out there, and I would write a letter. It's what we did. It was back in the days when we sent our baseball cards to the heroes to get them to sign them kind of stuff. So I'd write a letter, and nothing would ever come out of it. But it was just really a focused time. It was like from 77, and then in 1981 I graduated and had to go to college. So it was in that time period where I just didn't, there was no more traction. There was no way to find, these weren't advertised anywhere. In fact, I actually found the 1980 Sports Collectors Digest where I put my advertisement in to sell my collection.
But you had no idea at that point how many cards were in the collection. You had no idea who Mr. Plow was.
Absolutely.
I mean, you had none of this. This was all not even something you were interested in, right?
Yeah, no, it's not like I had any other, alignment going on here other than there was a feeling. And that feeling was, and again, as an older guy now, I can look at it and I said, don't we live sort of this wonderful human condition? We get amped up on things, and they mean something. What does it mean? And so that's always been, part of me. And, as an ancillary, I'm a writer also. And so this creative side of me was like, there's something there. But I didn't have the facility, the time, the wherewithal until 15 years ago, really, to sort of say, now I can dedicate the time and resources somewhat because I have a bigger vision here.
Which is what?
Well, the bigger vision was of storytelling around a particular event in time, which was there were amazing people in the context of the Industrial Revolution, and we've heard about Cracker Jacks and T206, but there are also smaller boutique, fascinating stories. And the more I learned about Edward Plows, the more I felt a kinship. It was like, oh my God, I get it. This kid came from a dysfunctional family. He wanted to be a player. He went large in Chicago. He met baseball players. He went from nowhere to somewhere in a short lifespan. That is absolutely intriguing as a writer. And so just as a side here, just to let you know, maybe the audience from a fun standpoint, is like I've also written a screenplay and a graphic novel surrounding how I've engaged the life and times.
And this book.
And that's a reference book, right? And that's
it's a story, it's a narrative. It's about
is.
your love affair with the cards, your discovering of the cards.
It is.
It's about every card in the collection. I mean, it's a very thorough, comprehensive book.
And what I wanted to do, and again with compliments to my wife Amy, who's also a writer, is we were able to sort of, turn, I think, what we would say is in a most amazing collectible card, if not a commodity, in this world that we live in now. But behind the door, the legacy of it is fascinating. And so I wanted to exhibit a reference as a professional to let you know the cars, to let you know the time, to let you know where in St. Louis, for instance, this was the factory in 1913 in St. Louis, where Plow's candy was made, and in fact, where the Plow's candy collection came out of. But there are all these touchstones that I know as a writer, a narrative player, that our key figure, who was bombastic, a player, was also emotionally estranged and dysfunctional. He had a family that has multiple suicides and deaths and sinking ships, and he disappeared for years at a time and would come back and engage in baseball and put his signs up and go advertising. And all of that rolled forward into, okay, this is, I have now got a few things going on. I want to amass the set here that is known to exist. I want to find them all. Mm-hmm. As I'm doing that, it's natural for me now to walk the walk of the storytelling, to figure out who, what, and when. I talked with Edward Plow's great-granddaughter, who lives in Phoenix. And we had a phone call, and she was like, Gary, I had no idea of this stuff.
She knew nothing of this?
No, she didn't know about her great-grandfather as much, as because there was a lot of bombastic and there was a lot of bad times. And,
right.
And the women in their family, Edward's wife, Sally, became the matriarch. And if you will, the brain. She lived to be 91 years old.
Wow.
And so she had the patents. She was able to sell those. And so there's a fascinating history that all of a sudden we're not even talking about the cards. I think I can engage you on a story about, wow.
Well, see, that's an interesting thing to me, because when you find that card, those cards in that treasure chest at Mineral Wells in 77, you have no idea, obviously, it's going to lead you down this path. None of us who tell stories for a living know kind of where the story takes us. So as you got more and more into the story of Edward Plow's and his, troubled, dysfunctional life and his family and so forth, how do you maintain the cards as the centerpiece of that tale?
Yeah, well, it's because it's around the baseball.
Yeah.
Now, an interesting part about the path, right? So Edward Plow's family came from New York City. This would have been in 1830s and 1850s, okay, that time frame. Mm-hmm. He was born in 1855. Okay, so let's give some context. Texas became a state in 1847. The Industrial Revolution in America had kind of kicked in 1855. In 1848, there was a train that finally landed in Chicago. Chicago wasn't even a city until 1837, right? Wow, we're just in a world here that is way back at the beginning. And you start looking at that, and you start going, well, there is this momentum of Chicago, and what was Chicago? And Edward Plow's was a player, and in the 1860s, there was 50, 60 baseball teams in Chicago. The first, if you will, integrated game was played in Chicago out on the South Side Field. Anyway, just a whole bunch of the world of Chicago was around baseball, and Edward Plow's migrated amongst the players. Mm-hmm. So the baseball cards were very interesting, obviously, but when they reached out and said, the story of Americana, of the growth of Chicago, of what went around in the White City in 1893 when Edward Plow's was competing with the Ruckheim brothers who were making Cracker Jacks. They invented them together. Edward Plow's had a honey-coated popcorn called Honey Boy. Right. Those are the two honeys that you see, Honey Boy. And it was molasses and honey. Well, the Ruckheim brothers did molasses and had a sealer, a wax sealer. But they were competing in 1893. And in fact, Sally Plow's sold, or if pursued by Cracker Jacks, they owned or they bought from her the trademark and kept it current to 1953. Yeah. Because of the competitive nature of what happened. So now you can build a story about that, right? What really happened, right? And what I would tell you in my understanding, the Ruckheim brothers, fastidious, they knew what they were doing, they had a plan. Edward Plow's was a player. This was just a way to get notoriety, to be famous, to engage. So his Honey Boys fell down. But at that moment, in 1893 and 1904, when greater America was focused in St. Louis and Chicago, he was in the midst of something he shouldn't have been in the middle of. And he loved it, okay? And it drove him insane, and he ended up dying early because of it. But if you reach back and go, well, the baseball cards themselves, if you look back at his family in New York, they were lithographers. They made Victorian cards. So what were Victorian cards? Well, they're the ancestors, if you will, of our postcards. Hallmark was 1910, give or take. So where did cards come from? You had a base sort of understanding in the family, and the intentions with the family. In fact, the design for these cards, he reached back into New York for a designer they knew that did the layout of the Plows Candy Collection. So innate to Discovery was that their family kind of had something going on with cards.
Right.
And through his life, they became more of an advert or advertising potential, and it was natural to what they were doing. But it was so, I would call it erratic behavior. I mean, there were highs and lows, and at one moment, you know, he's building in 1885 is when Plows and Company was established, which inevitably led into the franchise of the cards. Well, in 1884, Plows and Phelps was established to do Victorian cards in New York. He was a partner and with multiple magnates, but Edward gained his ground by initially being on the Board of Trade, which is our Chicago Mercantile now. Mm-hmm. He knew everybody, all the resources, all the players. So the chocolate of it, or the confectionery side of it, we'll visit about in a second. But the idea of the baseball cards starting with the Victorian lithographs migrating over, that is interesting, right? Because it's very personal.
Right. It's
not corporate, it's very personal. And knowing that he was a part of, if you will, the advertising, the entrepreneurship. And like a lot of entrepreneurs, this kinship that I feel, you're massive risk takers. You know, you win, lose, it's high lows. And his life exhibited that.
Right.
And I found after doing the work on this, that to have lived a life that was recognized in newspapers enough, you know, it wasn't like a president level, but at that time, the Ruckheim brothers were equivalent of Plows. Nobody knew.
Right.
There was enough notoriety that you did circulate in social circles. You did compete at high levels. You knew the money men. You knew the baseball players. You engaged, and you kind of disappeared. But yet what's left is this legacy, is this amazing one and only miracle set that shouldn't be here because it was a vanity project. There's very few numbers left. But that's what remains of this amazing moment, that there's been many of them in America, but most of us don't really leave something behind.
So let's talk about how you came to figure out how many cards were in the series, what players were in them, and how they came to be, because certainly, you know, you've got many of the top players from that period, Christy Mathewson, Ty Cobb, Honus Wagner, and so forth. They're beautifully done. The pictures are extraordinary. Certainly, those are some of the best representations we have of that period of the dead ball players. Right. So as you begin researching these and realizing, all right, who took these pictures? Where did they come from? How did he license these agreements? Were there agreements with these players? I mean, right. And why only the 1 year?
Right. So yeah, there's a lot of questions in there. It's fun to talk about, but I'll sort of to where I can start, which is the reason we can find out about this now is obviously the engagement of the internet, right?
Sure.
We have availability.
Researchers, there are people who love this as much as you do.
Absolutely. And I was able to reach out and find, you know, a couple of those folks that just said, hey, and I went into Chicago and met with someone lovely that had a business, and this is what we do. And so obviously everything supported in the book is all driven by research data.
Right. And
as an aside, Robert, I'm an engineer, so I'm an engineer writer, so I'm fastidious about the analytical,
sure.
And on the other side, I love the storytelling. So I went down this deep sort of rabbit hole analytically to go and research out. And what we were able to find was, at first, I believed I was able to just be able to knock on doors, make some phone calls, and find the gurus of the industry, so to speak, and get answers. No one had any answers. I mean, there was some supposition, and the early stuff got close. Meaning dates and so forth. It was close, but it wasn't right on. So then I just started doing, taking some of the key photographs, start doing my own research. The hired R&D folks were really about the historical, the timeline, the family. There was very little sort of paths to go down regarding the baseball cards, right? So what I did is I started researching around St. Louis and the advertising agency, printers, and a few things popped up that were very significant. This particular picture, and I really, if you don't mind, if I just focus on it for a second. So arguably, and again, for those in the industry, this card has rarely been seen and rarely been traded. So there's not a voice about it. There's not a conversation. Those that see it say, wow, that may be one of the most beautiful Honus Wagner cars that we've seen, right? Because it's captured action, it's sepia, it's golden from the standpoint of details. Well, I wanted to find out where this came from. So behind us, you have a snapshot of the glass plate that was used, that was taken that day with dirt on the cleats of Honus in Chicago at the park, the hit, right? So I went, okay, I found it. Now, if you look and say, you know, where that came from, then I went down a marvelous road with a gentleman, David Phillips, who was a photographer in Chicago. That I found his book, and lo and behold, the photo was in there, and he had bought the glass plates from the Francis P. Burke, George Atwell studio.
Wow.
That was being knocked down, and he bought all of them, right? So our room, let's say a 300 square foot room, it was filled with glass plates from 1890 to 1910. Wow. Crazy. And this is written in 1975, by the way. So this just didn't come out, okay? So I went and met with David, and we just had our golden moment, right, in Chicago, talking all the things. And he said, you know, these plates, I've got a process where I can reverse an image off the plates. And I said, well, I want to print that. And up behind us there is also the Christy Mathewson, which is on the Plows card. So boom, I found it, right? So Francis P. Burke, who was one of the primary photographers on call for all the sporting events, who also produced his own merchandise, was the architect of the art behind this, or the photographs.
The photographs. So the photographs weren't taken for the cards; they were simply used for the cards.
That's correct. Yeah, and so that's why you don't see them prolifically. They were used specifically, and you had to license them from him.
Right.
Right. And then if you go through, which I did, I went through and found most of the images, or enough of the images, that represented exactly what was going on. So these cards, let's call that dead ball era. Okay, these cards, the nomenclature says 1912. They were actually introduced in May of 1913.
Right.
And I have the receipt, a copy of the receipt of the invoice that charged the first batch of cards from that date.
How much did it cost to make them?
52 cents each. Okay, and today's inflationary numbers, that's $13.50.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not a cheap
No,
card.
a pound of chocolate was a nickel.
Right.
So if you look at that, you go, that's so much bravado of Annie. That's so much what you do as a celebrity. I want people to look at me. This is what we are. No one can do this except me, right? And so that was a part of the whole glamour, if you will, of what I found in the story. Now, the issue of the cards were the photography, if you will. Francis P. Burke had committed to Sporting News out of St. Louis a batch of photography that was available for license. Plow's Candy Company in St. Louis is the one that originated the actual production. Sporting News was in St. Louis, and Con P. Curring Printing, which did postcards and was their printer, was in St. Louis. So you put all that together, and I was able to overturn these rocks and find out exactly where the set came from,
Right.
and when it came from, and where the artwork came from, or the photography came from. So none of this was out there until we did all of our digging around and discovery. But it all just sort of added up. This all became very real, and for me, again, like yourself, you guys, extraordinary availability of everything that you see, right? And for me, I've done enough looking and seeing that to create not only from the card value and the wonderful thing that we know, but you go deep and wide. And now the legacy, if you will, is much richer.
Talk about how they were distributed.
Yeah, and this was discovered through General Advertising Agency. At the time, around 1900, 1910, 1920, you got to remember that advertising agencies really hadn't gelled, okay? America, if you go back and look, again, we're talking about the trains, 1848, well, sort of around 1900. To give you an idea, in 1890, there was, around 1900, there was about 1 million people in Chicago. And in 1880, there was 500,000. Right? Okay, so you've got this immense growth that's going on, and all the commerce that's going on around it, and with that, You've got, what was your question?
How they
regarding-
were distributed?
Yeah, so at that time, with all the advert in the building, is I knew we were headed there, is the advertising agencies peeked their head up because population everywhere. And Edward Plows was right on top of it. Again, putting signs and billboards at the Kaminsky Stadium, which is this outside park, putting them all over town. You know, we've got something here, which is a handheld, which I would offer to you as a bridge, right? This was kind of a bridge between a lithograph and an advertisement. And these were distributed all over the upper Midwest. And so the advertising agency, I found literally where with this advertisement, with this order of chocolates, a premium will be given with the chocolates. And it was right in that time frame of 1913, 1914. Specifically, the cards themselves, if you looked at what would be delivered, again, kind of giving you the life of Edward Plows, this was a box that you would get at your door. This was called None Such Fine Confections. This is from about 1910, and you can see the chocolate stain still in here. Well, what would happen is they would be delivered to your door, and the card would be given with you.
So you would just take this as a... So they weren't actually in... Right.
And that's why, you know, when you look at the cards themselves, again, there's about 170, I would say probably floating around with ungraded close to 200, you know, maybe. But if you look at them, none of them have candy marks at all.
Right.
There's no chocolate on these
That's why
things.
I'd always wondered that.
Yeah. And why? Because, well, if I was to give you this card, and think about here the contradiction. So you're wealthy enough in the family, and you order these, and you get this wonderful box and a card. Now, what are the odds that you care about the card?
Probably not very good.
That's it. That, again, is why it makes it a miracle. It's like, well, if you were one of those few that you liked it, you said, well, where am I going to keep this? Because it was, you know, I would put it in a book. Or if you were a real baseball fan, you had a photo album that you stuck it in.
Right.
And that's how they persisted, because you had to protect it. And that's another reason why they're so rare, is because unless you were engaged, so St. Louis had 2 baseball teams, Chicago had 2 baseball teams, about an hour and a half by train, I believe, between the two. Massive baseball circulation, so the odds were good. And by the way, these cards, Plows Candy ended up selling in El Paso, Anchorage, Alaska, New Mexico. I found adverts all over the country. And these cards were probably given, because the advertising was done also outside of St. Louis, with the salesman.
Right.
Who moved product also. So there's a couple of cards, the Eddie Plank, for instance. One has been discovered, it was folded, right? What you would do, put it in your pocket and carry it around and show people this will be coming as a...
Sure.
So
It's a salesman sample.
a salesman sample. But by and large, you're not seeing any of the telltale signs that would be around tobacco or staining or chocolate, because that's not the way it was delivered. In the second year, and to give you some idea of numbers, you know, in sort of the second, third year, sort of 1885 to 90, in the Chicago Board of Trade, and some of it is shared in the book there, but there is write-ups regarding the quality and the gourmet existence and equivalent to French chocolates and the highest ingredients and these things that really elevated the product. And I think, Robert, now if you'll sort of venture with me for a second into what the real glamour was here for me and a storyteller. Around 1900 to 1910, Chicago was the candy capital of the world. Immigrants had brought in all these recipes, and all the ingredients of the greater Midwest were flowing through. The temperature in the winter was cold, which was perfect for all kinds of candies, right? And so candy became a circulation of the upper elite. Kind of crazy. 1900, 1910, guys could go and enjoy and imbibe and have whiskey. Right. Women really didn't have anywhere else to go. So the Crystal Palaces of that time became the chocolate and candy factories. Chicago being, whether you're on Wabash or Madison or there's where they were. And you went in and you opened the door and there's crystal chandeliers and there's crystal teaspoons and china. And it was a playground, if you will, for the women who came out and socialized. Well, the men who liked the women would go and haunt the chocolate shops. So if you're a player and you could own the Magic
Mic
Chocolate
check.
Shops in Chicago, you really got to engage not only as
Mic check,
the
mic check. 1, 2,
elite
3.
sort of moving as an entrepreneur, but you also got to engage around all of those wonderful higher class nobility of women in Chicago, same in St. Louis. And so that particular piece became like, oh my gosh, no one's ever done this. That's what Eddie was doing. Edward Plows was a player, and he set this up. And through the news, there's actually articles I point out where he was, tracked down with a best friend and a gun for 2 weeks around town, where he had an affair and ended up having to settle in court for $50,000, that sort of thing, right?
Right.
It's perfect in our storytelling vision. But that was all built around the candy of the.
It's fascinating to me because the longer we talk about it, the less the cards become a big part of the story for you in a lot of ways. I mean, we sit here, this is one of this would have been in one of those stores in the early 1900s, right?
Exactly. This was a jar from about 1908, I believe. This was in St. Louis. You'd walk into the store and everything had the Plows symbol on it, the name.
So is it
Mic check,
weird
mic
for
check. 1, 2,
you
3.
to fall into this rabbit hole and then realize the thing that got you there is probably in some ways the least interesting part of the story for you? Because it's not about, the time, the milieu, the people. It's about, these cards are interesting.
Yeah.
They were, like everything else, used to sell the candy.
Right.
But they weren't the centerpiece of the collection for him, nor has it become the centerpiece of the story for you.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting, and it's great for you to point that out. I find, as we get older, to me, this particular story, this wonderful baseball of it gave me everything. Mm-hmm. Okay, not only do I get to be my own entrepreneur, do I get to live, in this world of I want people to see these cards. Why? Because, all the reasons I just said, and I think we all love to find that new moment where, wow. And I've had my wow. I've been working on this my life. And so that brings me to because my question is, Gary, you got all this stuff, why are you trading the cards? And I'm like, well, what I have is, I have all this in my head. I've written a book. I've written a screenplay. I know Edward Plows. I've lived it. And I would like to share it in a bigger way. And again, how do, the bigger ambitions start? Well, they start with a conversation.
So that's why you're auctioning these, right? Mm-hmm. Because you've had them, you know the story, and selling them allows us to do something like this.
100%.
To do a video, people can see it, to put it in the catalog, to write a press release. So people go, oh, I never knew this story. Now I do, thanks to you.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And it also gives a certain relevance to, and again, as we do, and I definitely just speak for me, but we become numb to things around us, and it's kind of a bad trait of the human condition. No matter how great it is, we want something new. Right. And I think in this way, because I can recognize, say, well, we actually have some amazing pieces of history that we get to represent in cards that have not been seen, and at the top of game are fresh and new. Mm-hmm. And for all of us, we kind of, love to do that.
Right.
We love to find that. And I think what with the wonderful work with you guys is get out, tell the story, and let sort of a legacy that's richer than a tradable card. Because I've got stories, we can pass along books, if you will. We can find out how the audience, how the collectors, how my friends out there would really like to engage with this. But I can tell you one thing, you can have a card that no one else has.
Well, there's that.
And that, sir, is pretty cool because I did it.
Right.
That's just, we love that. We love the game of it.
So how many cards exist that, as far as you know at this point?
Yeah, it's a little speculation. I think you guys have searched the PSA.
Yeah, PSA's got the registry, but certainly
Yeah.
there may be some that haven't been slabbed and graded.
Yeah, I would guess there's 30 or 40. And I've talked to a few. I know where one card is that is from a relative of one of the players from back when.
Really?
And lovely. And he said, Gary, I want to have the book. And, I said, what we could do is we could let him join the Brotherhood of Plows if you want to, And he's like, I totally hear that. But it's in our family, and I know where you are. And I'm like, that's great, So I've had some discussions around it. The interesting point, again, to the treasure hunter of it all, so as this engineer analytical, I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the size of paper printers used back then and understand, in my supposition, again, granted all the details that I've discovered, there should be 72 cards.
Right.
It's just math of what they would have printed and what Kern would have printed at the time, right? So there has been a discovery of 69. I have 61 of them. There's one I know at 62. So there's 7 of them. And of those 7, they've gone missing. So somewhere out there, and one of those cards is Tris Speaker. So there is a big eagle out there. But I also believe there's probably 3 more to fairly round out the set at 72.
Yeah.
There has to be because of the printing that would have been done and the availability of sporting news and all the things I know. And so,
How many glass plates were there?
well, the glass plates are hundreds because I could show you in this book that I have here. Oh my gosh, it goes all the way through Ruth and everything. I mean, Ruth came around in 1914, which is right after this. So, you know, what they did is from the baseball side of it, the selection was 18 of 72, so 25% of the cards, if you will, are represented in Hall of Famers. And so what I consider, which is built into my writings, the magic of plows, the marvelous magic there that created some sort of allure around the cards, but the players within the cards tended to be, you know, end up making the Hall of Fame, and they're just one year shy of Babe. And Baltimore was a little bit out of the reach, but when he came to Chicago, there were some photos taken, which I can show you. So if you look and you said, well, the extent now slabbed, maybe around 170, and probably another couple of dozen in collectors' hands. And you know, I'd say get out and see if you can find some of them. And I have a key, you know, in my reference book here. I said, well, I'm writing this. I can do what I would do, just like any sleuth would do. I can find 5 or 6 players that I believe have potential by virtue of the Francis P. Burke, George Atwell, Sporting News, publications at the time, and the handful, if you will, of photographs of them, right? And so I have some ideas of who may be lurking out there. But there's not, you know, it's very small, and to date, only the one Honus Wagner has been discovered, and that was in 1989. And then
That's this one.
That's this card.
It's the only Honus Wagner that exists.
That's it. That's the only one. And the Ty Cobb is, I believe you guys have pointed out, there may be 7. I think there's one that's not slabbed. This is the highest example, Ty Cobb, that's out there. But the Christy Mathewson, the Walter Johnsons, et cetera, the guys that you would suspect are within the set.
Yeah.
And fortunately, and for my passion, I own them. And you know, and this getting to share that, and obviously with kind of our whole entire market and appreciation, respect for legacy from Honus and Ty really represents how we can jump out and introduce the story.
So saying how this is the only Wagner, how do you part with it?
Yeah, it's a good point. I haven't until now. I mean, I look at it.
I know, but you are.
Yeah, and I look at it and I say, I'm ready to share. I'm ready for someone to say, I get it, Gary. This particular card is one and only, and you know, it is, if you will, the value of the currency. Also, I mean, what in this day and time, you get to share the card, and I get to share the stories with you, and we're moving on.
But is it hard to get to part with this?
You know, Robert, I would say I totally respect. I've been with it. I got it. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm
Well, I mean,
good.
collectors often talk about the fact that I've had my time with somebody else's turn.
And it's just real. And I think it's those things when you get gray hair where you kind of go, oh, I get it. But it's been with me, and like most of them. And I think for me, the depth of it is a little different because I really have gotten in. Look, I talked to the guy's great-granddaughter. You know, it's like I've got rich and full.
Well, you got this, you get to keep this.
Exactly.
So that's,
yeah.
you get to display that.
Right. And you know, I mean, I've got items that really, it will continue to live on, and you know, I've got other cards within the set that, you know, all this is good. And you know, I had a discussion, you know, to give some kudos out to one of the first guys that I visited with around this is a collector out on the West Coast. Kevin, and very well known within the industry, done it for decades, and you know, he said, Gary, this is, I will tell you, because I've never seen these, and this is a miracle. And I know the background, this is a miracle set.
Yeah.
And that's where that came from. But when he said it, it really didn't have the gravitas that was intended.
Right.
Because when I got into it, it's like, this should have never existed. I mean, just financially, it's
Right.
crazy. Not to mention all the ifs, ands, or buts. And in 1913, there was an arson event. Right at the end of 1913, there was an arson event at the factory in St. Louis, and it burned most of the
So what
inventory.
he's gonna have to do is
Water
scoot the chair
damage on
over
some of
and
the
then
Dalen
use that.
cards. There's a collection of, there's, again, down to minute details. There's a
Right.
handful of Dalen cards, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, that have water stains on them. It's like, that's how deep I've gone in understanding what was done here. And that idea, when Kevin said that to me, I'm like, you know what? That can be a bunch of bravado unless we figure out what that means. And so now I can look at it and then offer that to our friends here, that this really is a miracle that these kind of cards at this size and this age costing this much, and it's crazy that they found their way here today.
Well, I always appreciate a man and his passions and his pursuits and his downright obsessions. So I appreciate you sharing this stuff with us.
Great, Robert. I'm so proud to be here and appreciate you guys.
You bet. Thanks for doing this.
You bet. Thank you.
They represent the start of two of the greatest dynasties in basketball history. The Ones, a groundbreaking sculpture of leather and rubber that has become permanently ingrained in American cultural iconography. Of course, the tiny fraction of those inaugural Air Jordans worn by their namesake as he performed feats never seen before occupy the pinnacle of the sneaker hierarchy. This pair has been photomatched to April 1st, 1986 action at Mecca Arena in Milwaukee, a contest that saw his Airness, still nursing a broken foot suffered in late October, come off the bench to score 28 points in 26 minutes to lead the Bulls. The photo match provided by McGwire comes from a production defect on the tongue of the right shoe, missing a punch where the third from the top should be at the interior ankle, making these the only pair of Air Jordan 1s photo matched to game action. Jordan would claim his first scoring title at the close of this 1985-86 season, with a career-best 37.1 points per game, the first of 10 seasons as the NBA's most potent offensive weapon. It's the most iconic style of footwear, worn by the game's greatest player at the genesis of his career, legendary gamers that will find a new home on February 26th. This flannel was worn by the legendary Mickey Mantle as he struck the penultimate home run of his storied career, number 535, an event filed under the bold headline of The Gift in baseball history, a heartwarming tale of how Denny McLain engaged in the final 30-win season ever registered in the majors, essentially served up batting practice to a faded legend on the brink of retirement, allowing Mantle to homer near the end of a game and an American League season already safely in the hands of the Detroit Tigers. Mantle would launch his 536th and final career home run the day after McLain's free pass, a solo shot off visiting Boston Red Sox ace Jim Lomberg on September 20th. Remarkably, that same towering right-hander would face Mantle in his final career plate appearance as the Yanks closed out the 1968 season at Fenway Park. Batting third, Mantle would pop out to Rico Petrocelli at shortstop in the top of the first and then take a seat in the Yankees' dugout. After 2,401 regular season appearances, one of the greatest careers in baseball history was over. Difficult and painstaking study of the limited photography and television footage from the Knicks' last stand that uses the unique arch of the New York lettering on the chest and the positioning of the fabled number 7 on the back to also establish this garment as the one the Mick wore for that final game in a Yankee uniform. The instant that Petrocelli glove mantles pop up on September 28, 1968, a history dating back nearly a half century came to an end. With the exception of 3 seasons during the Second World War, an all-time legend of the game had actively served as the face of the New York Yankees and of Major League Baseball itself. From Ruth to Gehrig to DiMaggio to Mantle, this unbroken chain bound countless American hearts to our national pastime and powered an era of glory unlike any other in sports history. Place this jersey at the center of 100 years of Yankee history and make it one of the most significant mantle items in private hands. On February 26th, this museum-quality gamer will find a place in a new collection.
Featured in our February Platinum Night auction is a 2018 National Treasures Luca Doncic RPA. It's numbered out of 99. It's a PSA 10 with a 10 auto. This card is a beast. This card has recently sold for almost $800,000, and it has continued to go up in value as Luca has continued to play very well. And what we're most excited about to see here is whether this trend continues and whether or not the trend of quality over quantity is more prevalent in modern card collecting. And what we're looking for here is to see where this one ends up, because it has ramifications throughout the entire hobby. This is an important sale, and it ends February 26th and 27th at ha.com.
Tale of Jackie Robinson's first meeting with Brooklyn Dodgers president Branch Rickey has been recounted and reshaped so many times it long ago slipped from memory to mythology. Each retelling, in print and on film, is a little different, each detail slightly tweaked, yet there is no changing the outcome. Robinson's ascension from Negro Leaguer to the first black baseball player in the minors and majors, an event that would change not only the national pastime, but the entire country. It is a testament to Branch Rickey's sophistication and foresight that he chose a ball player who would become a symbol of strength rather than assimilation, wrote Jonathan Eig in his 2008 bestseller Opening Day, the story of Jackie Robinson's first season. It is a testament to Robinson's intelligence and ambition that he recognized the importance of turning the other cheek and yet found a way to do it without appearing the least bit weak. So the story goes, told in each man's autobiographies and interpreted by others forever after. Branch Rickey asked Jack Roosevelt Robinson if he could turn the other cheek for as long as it took. "Mr. Rickey," Jackie said, "I've got to do it." Here, in black and white, is how certain Robinson was. At the end of March 1946, 1 month before his debut as one of the Dodgers minor league Montreal Royals, Jackie filled this questionnaire provided by the American Baseball Bureau. Robinson was asked about his ambition in baseball. In the space provided, he wrote, "To open door for Negroes in organized ball." That questionnaire, which also notes Robinson's year with the Kansas City Monarchs and credits Rickey as the person to whom he owes the most in his baseball career, is one of the most significant items related to Jackie's historic career. The document is one piece of an extraordinary assemblage of nearly 50 historic Robinson and Brooklyn Dodgers-related items being offered in our February Platinum auction. They all come from a single collector, a New York native, who spent years amassing these historic moments. Now, this incredible document and dozens of other treasures will find new custodians who can celebrate them. Find the perfect one for your collection on February 26th.
This may be the best Mark McGwire game used bat in the hobby. This was used actually in the 1988 World Series, used to hit a game-winning home run in Game 3. McGwire signed it and also added that he did use it in the game, but we did photo match it. If you look on the back barrel here, there are red marks, red stamping marks, and that's from, in the World Series, they used different baseballs than what they did in the regular season. They actually used baseballs with red stamping on it, so it's got great use. It is photo matched to the big home run. Right now, this is at $15,000. It had an $8,000 estimate. great pine tar, a lot of hit marks, and there are some green bat rack marks from when he would take it out of the bat rack. So one of the nicest Mark McGwire game used bats I have ever seen, and it sold after the World Series and has never appeared in an auction since. Really cool bat, Mark McGwire game used.
On Jackie Robinson's tombstone in Brooklyn's Cypress Hill Cemetery, just 5 miles from where Ebbets Field once stood, these words are engraved. A life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. By that metric, no athlete in American sporting history is more important than the man who took the dangerous first steps across baseball's shameful color line. This April will mark the 75th anniversary of Jackie Robinson's Major League debut, and we're proud to offer some of the most significant and unique items celebrating number 42's heroic achievement. A ticket stub from his historic April 15, 1947 debut, his iconic rookie card, photos from his days in Brooklyn, autographs and poignant inscriptions to his Dodger teammates, a treasure trove of relics from the most important career in Major League Baseball history, including one of the most remarkable items we've ever had the honor of offering, this 1946 American Baseball Bureau questionnaire contains the expression of one brave man's dream to change not only the sport of baseball, but the hearts and minds of a nation. Filled out by Robinson just before joining the Dodgers' AAA Montreal Royals for the 1946 season. It was the precursor to one of the most influential moments in American history, and a highlight among dozens of legendary items from Robinson's incredible career. Find the perfect one for your collection on February 26th.
It's been a while. Yeah. I know. Oops.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the closing night for our Winter Platinum Night auction. I'm Mike Provenzale, the production manager in Heritage Sports. And on my right, as always, the bear-huggingest guy in the hobby, Mr. Tony Giese. Tony, how you doing tonight?
I have been excited this entire week.
You're excited your whole life, so you're.
I am, but I can't remember an auction with the level of excitement in the office as this auction has produced.
Yeah, we got everybody in
Amazing.
town. Derek Grady's in there. Dan Imler is in there.
He had to fight the ice storm on Wednesday, but he did make it here. So that's yeah, we got everyone in. It's an exciting time.
Some people still calling. We got some interested bidders talking about what they want to bid on, giving them a little more info, and that's what we're going to do here tonight is talk about some of the highlights in the auction. There's a lot of landmark items, cards, collectibles, memorabilia, historical items even we're going to talk about.
Yeah, this has got everything.
Yeah.
This has got absolutely everything. And the pricing right now is off the charts, and we're beyond excited.
Yeah. Jackie Robinson's a big player in this auction. We're coming up on the 75th anniversary of his Major League Baseball debut in April. And we have one of the most incredible Jackie Robinson's collections in the hobby being offered tonight. Many of the items. Tonight is session 1. Tomorrow is session 2. So the first 138 items in session 1 will close tonight at 10 p.m. Central Time. In about 2 hours, extended bidding begins, and you have to have your bids in before then to continue to bid. Everything for session 2, you can bid all night and tomorrow up until 10 p.m. Central Time.
This is when the fun begins. 9:30, 9:45. You just to watch those bids come in, and there's going to be a lot of records broken tonight.
Absolutely.
There really is
a lot of trends. We're going to be talking a lot about tickets today. We got vintage and modern cards. Both are doing extremely well right now. And gamers, some really good gamers.
Game worn jersey market is, it's everything is up.
Yeah,
because
it's a good time to be collecting. It's a good time to be selling. Good time to find what you want. A lot of fresh material coming out. We see a lot of that in this auction. The first time it's being offered. A lot of things that have never
decades.
Been.
Some of that stuff I think the Dodger collection, it hasn't been offered in decades. I mean, that was assembled, 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
And now it's making its
Yeah, some pieces out of the Halper auction that are being offered tonight for the first time since then. And well, let's go to the bid board. Some of you might be watching us on the homepage or on the recent bid activity screen. Tony, what's moving up the
let's
recent
take a
bids?
look. The Ted Williams game used bat, I think, is at 220,000 right now. That one's making a nice jump.
Vault marked bat.
Yeah,
there,
from his
PSA 10.
MVP season. I mean, it's got everything you'd want and a good Ted Williams gamer. The Serena Williams card, 77,500.
Net Pro.
Yeah, now it is her best card, but my goodness, that is done incredibly well.
Yeah,
So there's
landmark item for as far as tennis cards right
Mhm,
there.
mhm.
So let's get started. You just saw the video about the Jackie Robinson collection, and there's been a lot of headlines about the 46 Baseball Bureau questionnaire, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But the first item I wanted to talk about is another item out of that Jackie Robinson collection, and a really unique one that's very similar to that questionnaire. It's a 1946 Heilbronner Baseball Bureau information card. So pre-computer age, Tony, the Major League Baseball offices made every employee, players, fill out a 3x5 index card with all their information. And this is arguably the most important of its kind. This is Jackie Robinson's. Dates to approximately March 1st, 1946, the day that the Brooklyn Dodgers signed Jackie Robinson to a farm league contract as a member of the Montreal Royals of the AAA League, the International League. And this was likely awaiting Robinson in his locker and completed on this first day
Unbelievable.
in the offices, if you will, with the
Mhm.
Brooklyn Dodgers. So day one of his historic quest.
And it's stamped too, right?
Yes, it's got his name. He filled it out. It's one of the earliest documents relating to Jackie Robinson's brave and essential battle for equality in Major League Baseball. Very cool item in his hand. And yeah, another fantastic item of Jackie Robinson in there. There's plenty tonight.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool items, and it's just amazing to see like what his autograph has done now. You know, I remember days where it was $800. Now you're like $2,000 just for anything signed by him. You know, even an index card signed by him.
You know, and
It's just-
him being
it's
such a significant figure, not just in baseball, but in American
Yes.
history, it really elevates him. And a lot of these pieces that are going to sell tonight are museum quality, and they're going to be finding new owners. This second one is my personal favorite. This blew me away when it came into the offices. This is a copy of Wait Till Next Year, the Jackie Robinson biography book. And Jackie Robinson signed it and inscribed it to Pee Wee Reese.
I saw
And
that.
a real touching inscription. He dated it May 13th, 1960. Quote, Pee Wee, whether you're willing to admit what you're being just a great guy meant a great deal to my career, I want you to know how much it meant. May I take this opportunity to say a great big thanks, and I sincerely hope all the things you want in life be yours. Best to the family. Sincerely, Jackie Robinson.
I
That
get
is
chills just
unbelievable.
hearing it. You know, just hearing that is just amazing. And yeah, I mean, to have such a inscription on it like that, it's going to do well.
From his
gonna do
teammates,
well.
you know, they were in the battle as well.
Yeah, they were.
They faced a lot of criticism and had to make some tough choices.
Mhm.
And Pee Wee Reese was right there
He
beside
was
him.
right there, put his arm around him.
Exactly, in
And,
Cincinnati.
I mean, that was, yeah. that
And
was
so a
good.
great Jackie Robinson signed piece. And then, of course, we can't talk about Jackie Robinson without talking about that one right there in front of you, Tony. This is the 1947 Brooklyn Dodgers debut of Jackie Robinson ticket stub. So this was there at Ebbets Field in someone's
Went through the
pocket.
turnstile.
Exactly. A huge piece of American history, momentous occasion for baseball, of course.
How many are out there even?
So there's 7 in the PSA
Wow.
population. 5 are authentic, and this is one of 2 that's graded a PSA 2.
Wow.
So it's at the top, the finest one you could find, and it's going to find a new home tonight, Tony.
Boy, whoever can sign that, they're going to get all the. I mean, my goodness. I mean, the whole market just exploded on tickets.
And
And
that
they're gonna-
you could say this is one of the most important ones.
It
So
is.
it's going to be very interesting to see where it ends up tonight. You know, this is a museum quality piece
With
as
a
we talk
very
about.
low population.
Yeah,
With
very
a
low.
very low population. I mean, when you factor all that in, what is it at now? 200 and
Yes, so
What is
we've
it?
got that and the only known Jordan debut full ticket that are right at the top as far as the tickets in the auction. We have a incredible assemblage of tickets. And those two are at the top, and interesting to see where they end up. We'll find out in a couple hours.
When you can say only known,
yeah,
when you can
exactly.
put that in a title, it just takes it to an entirely different level.
But the crown jewel of that Robinson collection is the 1946 questionnaire filled out by Jackie. So let's take a look. The tale of Jackie Robinson's first meeting with Brooklyn Dodgers president Branch Rickey has been recounted and reshaped so many times it long ago slipped from memory to mythology. Each retelling, in print and on film, is a little different, each detail slightly tweaked, yet there is no changing the outcome. Robinson's ascension from Negro Leaguer to the first black baseball player in the minors and majors, an event that would change not only the national pastime, but the entire country. It is a testament to Branch Rickey's sophistication and foresight that he chose a ball player who would become a symbol of strength rather than assimilation, wrote Jonathan Eig in his 2008 bestseller Opening Day, the story of Jackie Robinson's first season. It is a testament to Robinson's intelligence and ambition that he recognized the importance of turning the other cheek and yet found a way to do it without appearing the least bit weak. So the story goes, told in each man's autobiographies and interpreted by others forever after. Branch Rickey asked Jack Roosevelt Robinson if he could turn the other cheek for as long as it took. Mr. Rickey, Jackie said, I've got to do it. Here, in black and white, is how certain Robinson was. At the end of March 1946, 1 month before his debut as one of the Dodgers minor league Montreal Royals, Jackie filled this questionnaire provided by the American Baseball Bureau. Robinson was asked about his ambition in baseball. In the space provided, he wrote, "To open door for Negroes in organized ball." That questionnaire, which also notes Robinson's year with the Kansas City Monarchs and credits Rickey as the person to whom he owes the most in his baseball career, is one of the most significant items related to Jackie's historic career. The document is one piece of an extraordinary assemblage of nearly 50 historic Robinson and Brooklyn Dodgers-related items being offered in our February Platinum auction. They all come from a single collector, a New York native, who spent years amassing these historic moments. Now, this incredible document and dozens of other treasures will find new custodians who can celebrate them. Find the perfect one for your collection on February 26th. Really incredible stuff there, Tony. That is an unbelievable piece. You know, that could be in the Smithsonian. That's a piece of American history right there.
When I saw it for the first time, my hands kind of started shaking when I first saw that. And I love the date stamp on that thing.
Yes.
And just to think that Robinson, you know, when he filled it out, such an important time in baseball history.
And what he must have been thinking when he filled that out.
Yeah.
You know,
What's going through
he
his
knew what
mind.
was going to be ahead of him. And so that's the one time we've got where he put it in his hand, his exact ambition, right before, as he started the quest.
It is just incredible content. It's just incredible content.
You know, it wouldn't be a celebration of Jackie Robinson without his iconic rookie card as well. So, Tommy, let's take a look at that 48 leaf.
Coming up in our February Platinum Night auction, in honor of the 75th anniversary of Jackie Robinson, we have an outstanding collection of Jackie Robinson memorabilia and cards. And I know the 48 leaf Jackie, you had brought that card in and you saw it in person. What did you think of the 48 leaf Jackie?
It is probably one of the nicest 8s I have ever seen. Based on the centering, the color, the image of Jackie Robinson is phenomenal. It's one that if you compared that to the 8s that are out there, this one is going to stand out up above all the others that are out there.
Well, that's saying a lot since you were a professional grader. I was obviously a professional grader.
You were.
And actually your boss. And so
You were too.
So, you know, that card is something we do see a lot of. You know, it's not one of the short prints in the 48 leaves, so the card is out there, but to see it in well-centered, nice color, no print, out of focus. So you're saying this card has all the qualities of one of the nicest 8s you've ever seen.
This is one that if I had that kind of money, this is the one that I'd go after.
Oh, that's saying a lot, and this will be up for bids in February.
Unbelievable. And of course, We have a huge assembly of amazing cards tonight, vintage and modern and wax too as well, that run the gambit from the 1888 to this year. So a lot.
All sports too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's your tennis, golf, of course,
Wrestling. in
wrestling.
there, too.
That's
We're gonna
gaining
talk about that
popularity.
later.
It's gaining popularity.
So this next one is one of the coolest that I saw. I'd never seen one before in person, and I'm guessing many haven't. This is the 1903 E107 Bresh Williams Honus Wagner rookie card. It's one of only 6 known, Tony, in the combined PSA and SGC censuses. So it makes Wagner's T206 look common, really. So the 1903 E107 is widely considered the first major baseball set of the 20th century. So that gives this card the greatest claim to be Wagner's rookie card right here. 1903, he had many huge years. This was one of them. The old Dutchman captured the National League batting championship for the second of an eventual 8 times. And the Pirates won the pennant. However, they lost to the Red Sox in the first World Series in 1903 there. So an amazing card, a true rarity there from one of the biggest names in the game, and only 6 known, and someone's going to acquire this one tonight. Tony with the nod there. So
it's a great piece. It is, especially with people collecting rookie cards, and they're getting more and more, some of these issues that people weren't really aware of.
Right.
And once they start to surface, people are gravitating. They want to get those rookie cards, and the market is.
And of course, the T206 Honus Wagner is a holy grail. Everybody wants that. It's always going to make headlines when it comes up for auction, but people really hold on to them. There's only 6 of these. There's 60-ish
60
of the T206, so far rarer. And speaking of rare, Tony, we have a unbelievable set in our possession right now, and 2 of the cards are featured in this auction closing tonight. It's the 1912 E300 Plows Candy. Ever heard of it, Tony?
I have not, but I know there was a lot of media attention on this set.
Yeah, so Jefferson Burdick, the father of the baseball card taxonomy, he didn't know they existed either. This is one of the rarest sets. It's definitely the rarest dead ball era trading card issue. And it was a beautiful and impractical dream of a man whose 2 loves in life were candy and baseball. Sounds a little like you, Tony, right?
It is.
Edward Plows, he was the leading confectioner of Chicago's Gilded Age. He loved baseball. He loved candy. He wanted to make an incredible set. He would see his candy franchises spread through the Midwest and beyond, but he didn't live long enough to see these cards, which was his true passion. He put it in the works to create this set. And 7 years after he passed, his widow Sally made the first production run here in 1912. It was midway through the 1913 baseball season. That season, Ty Cobb led the majors with a .390 batting average.
Not bad.
Walter Johnson had a 1.14 ERA, minuscule, you might say. But the thing about these cards is they are beautiful. They are a cut above everything else that was produced at the time and since, in many respects. Cracker Jack would steal some of these images.
I always thought those were like the most beautiful cards.
Yes, so this is a step up. The subjects were carefully selected from the archives of the leading baseball photographer at the time, Francis P. Burke, and they were printed at 3x4 size, so a little bit larger than the standard fare. And the production cost of each of these cards in 1912 was 52 cents.
Really?
Which is equivalent to $15 today.
Oh, my goodness.
Could you imagine a company making $15 cards and trying to mass produce them? The full roster of Plows is unknown, and it will probably be unknown. There's less than 200 total cards in the combined PSA and SGC censuses from this set.
When did this set get acknowledged? I mean, was this something like in the 70s then? Or?
So it was, some people started to discover it, and the consigner of these 2 cards and his set, he calls it the Miracle Set because it's the most complete by far. It would be impossible to complete this set.
Sure.
So right now we know of 70. And as I said, there's under 200 total known. So the consigner set includes 61 of the 134 total cards that are out there.
Wow.
They're all slabbed by PSA with a GPA of 5.45. And of the 61 cards in the Miracle set, 44 are 1 of 1 highest graded, and 23 are the only known.
Unbelievable.
So this one right here is the Ty Cobb example. As we said this year, he led the league in batting at 390, Tony. This is 1 of 9 in the combined PSA and SGC.
He led the league in batting every year, though, didn't he?
Exactly. I mean, that's you could just rubber stamp that pretty
I'm
much.
kidding.
But this is the highest graded example by 2 points. So incredibly rare. And as you can see, they are beautiful images. And then we also have tonight, we just have the 2 tonight. The rest of the Miracle set will be coming up later in the spring. But this one, have you ever seen this one before, Tony?
I have not.
Don't answer that. Nobody has. This is the only known Honus Wagner example that's been slabbed by either PSA, SGC, slabbed by anyone. So a huge rarity here. We just talked about his rookie card, the 1903 E107, that there's only 6 known. This is the only known example of Honus Wagner. So a lot of great Wagner items in this auction, and you can see right there, the imaging on it is just unbelievable. Great image of him getting a hit and coming out of the batter's box. You can see the dust coming up off his feet. Even.
It's a great angle, too.
Yeah,
it's a great
so
angle
detailed.
where they shot that.
So really excited to see where those end up, and we're very excited to be offering the rest of the Miracle set in the very near future. Tony, I'm hogging all the chitter chatter.
You're doing
here.
a great job, Mike.
Yeah, you just
As
sit back,
always,
take a nap.
You do a great job.
So why don't you go ahead? What's the
All right,
card that caught your eye?
1954 Stahlmeyer Franks Mickey Mantle PSA 8, highest graded. There's only been 21 that have been evaluated by PSA, and this one I think we did a 60,000 estimate. It's at 125,000 right now. These were packaged with hot dogs, so of course right off the bat,
hot dog
grease,
juices.
Yeah, exactly. Grease stains, and these are just most of the time when you see them, they're just slabbed authentic. This one never made it to the package. It came from one of the workers. His son inherited it, and we got it evaluated. And PSA 8 Mantle. It's a great card.
Top
it's one of those
pop.
holy grails. Yeah,
With a bullet, you might say. And that was just a regional release in New York. Only.
It was,
So
yep.
a rare set as well. They just did it for 3 years. It just featured the 3 New York teams. And those 3 years, all 3 teams won the World Series.
Well, I like this one because of the yellow background.
Yes.
The previous one, they had like a white background. They just didn't pop as much. But these with the yellow, it just really, really stands out. And like I said, when you got Mantle, highest known, none superior, it's going to do a great number.
Yeah, and I think that's going to go a little further too.
I do too.
Recently in the hobby, all the top level items, the 1 of 1s, the highest graded, have seen just dizzying heights, you might say. And this
Sizable
is one
jumps.
of those examples. A rare card in and of itself, and then condition wise, that's one of the toughest sets.
And it's so hard to put a number on it, because when you have the top one, what do you do? I mean, what's that right number? And a lot of times we like to be conservative with those numbers because you want to get people bidding, you want to get the action going. And I mean, this one is going to do an incredible number.
Yeah, another one that's going to do incredible numbers. This next card, moving back to Jackie Robinson. We're going to talk about Jackie a lot today. This is the 49 Bowman Jackie Robinson, and this one as well is a near mint to mint 8. PSA has graded over 1,500 of these, and only 10 have exceeded this 8 right here. So right at the top as well. Beautiful card. Of course, that red background is a favorite. Everybody loves this one because of the huge smile on Jackie's face right there. But this one has bold colors, clean surfaces, sharp corners, everything you'd want. And from a year when he won the MVP, huge moment in baseball history.
I love that red background on that card.
Oh, yeah.
It just jumps out at you. Kind of reminds me of the Cracker Jack cards a little bit. They had that, they utilized that red background.
Yeah, it's a good attraction for the advertising aspect.
Absolutely.
So let's talk some tickets, Tony. That's what everybody's talking about.
1913, the opening of Ebbets Field. It is, I believe it's the only known example of this.
That is correct. The only known.
And we've been saying that. That's been a common theme for us tonight. Highest graded, only known. But again, it's the opening of Ebbets Field. Robinson was a few decades down the road, but again, PSA authentic right now, 18,000, and it's not like there's going to be a horde of these ever coming out there.
Yes.
I can't imagine very many of these ever, people didn't think to keep ticket stubs. They threw them away.
Right.
And that's why the market is what it is, because people didn't save that stuff. And this is
only known from one of the most legendary venues in sport.
Exactly.
That Ebbets Field has a mythic status almost. And this is the only known from its opening day. Really cool piece.
There's such a charm with Brooklyn and the Dodgers. And they're just such a charm. It's like,
and the Super Bows.
Exactly.
Tony, you a big Super Bows fan?
More of a Brooklyn Robins guy myself.
Okay, nice, very nice.
No, but they had such a love for that team and that organization. The players lived in the community, and it's not like today. The players live there, and they just embrace that team so much.
Yeah.
The Bums.
So another great baseball ticket here next. This is the 1919 World Series. Game 8, Tony. Game 8 of the World Series.
World Series.
You ever been to a Game 8?
I have never been to a Game 1 of a World Series, much less a Game 8.
So this is a cool one, of course. The Cincinnati Reds clinch in front of the Chicago Black Sox betrayed fans here. This was the clinching game in the Black Sox scandal World Series. It's the most sought-after World Series ticket, right along with Game 1 of the 1903 World Series, the first World Series game. And so for this one, Game 8, rumored that White Sox starter for Game 8, Lefty Williams, was visited the night before the game by an individual who threatened to harm him and his wife if he didn't throw the game early. In the first inning, Williams gave up 4 straight one-out hits for 3 runs. So whether that happened, it seemed like message was received. So yeah, a momentous occasion. This is another thing, the mythic status of the Black Sox, the 8-men out, shoeless Joe Jackson, all of that. And this is what clinched their doom, essentially, this game. And it's one of only 4 in the PSA
Kind of changed
population.
sports forever, really.
Oh, totally.
My goodness.
Certainly baseball.
Yeah.
After that, commissioner, lockdown.
Thankfully, some guy in New York came around in 1920 to kind of get everybody back in good spirits.
Then Babe Ruth came through in 1920 and just brought everything back. So this next ticket is one of the most poignant moments in baseball history and sports history. This is a 1939 Lou Gehrig Day ticket. It's the stub graded PSA 2 from Tuesday, July 4th, 1939. The luckiest man speech. The stub was there in somebody's pocket, as we said, for a moment that everybody knows those words. Everybody knows about Lou Gehrig Day, and this was there. More than 60,000 tickets were sold that day, and only 6 have found their way into a PSA slab.
Amazing.
So, when we talk about with the ticket market, what would people keep? What would they not? Like Mickey Mantle's debut is just a random game, very unlikely. That's why that has a low pop. It's strange that this one does. It was a heartbreaking moment, very memorable. You'd think more people would have held on to them, but people just didn't hold on to tickets. Only 6 of these from a absolute sellout crowd. And of the 6, 3 are just graded authentic. The other 2 are just above this one at VG3. So one of the highest graded at that.
When I think of that game, they embraced between Ruth and Gehrig, kind of burying the hatchet, and both teams just lining up. And then, Gehrig with all the little trophies in front of him, they put out
famous photo, of course, taken at that event. So very significant ticket. And we mentioned this one earlier. But this one has been making a lot of headlines over the last few weeks. It's the 1984 Michael Jordan NBA debut full ticket, the only known full ticket from Jordan's debut. The stubs have been selling for astronomical prices. And great story behind this one as well. Our consignor saw the price the stub got and thought, I was at that game. So he was a college student at Northwestern. He was from Washington. So a Bullets fan. His dad got him 2 tickets to the game when the Bullets played the Bulls to open the season. Couldn't find anybody to go with him. One of the most profitable instances of not having a friend in hobby history right here. So he took both tickets to the game, used one, kept the other one. When he saw that price, he went down into his basement, dug through his archives, and he still had that full ticket. This is the only one known right here.
Yeah, I mean, back then the Bulls weren't a very hot ticket.
True.
They were a doormat for the league pretty much. And yeah, I mean, who would have thought that Jordan would turn the game of basketball into what he did? And I'm just surprised that it's the only known from that game. I mean, there's a lot of Jordan collectors, a lot of Jordan ticket collectors. You would think there would be another one out there, but this is one of those instances where the story really helps the piece, because
Definitely.
the guy, he did interviews about this. I think it's on our website, and it's just interesting sometimes the background of how this stuff
that elevates it to another level.
It really does. It really does.
When you can really sink your teeth into that background story. And if there is another one out there, I'm assuming we're going to hear about it soon, because this has been at a record price for a ticket for almost 2 weeks now.
Yes.
And I think it's going to go a little further too.
Speaking of debut tickets, we have one that it is just amazing. 1996 Kobe Bryant professional debut during the Vegas Summer League.
Yes.
Every year the NBA goes to Vegas for the Summer League. This is his first professional game, and
first time he wore purple and gold.
Exactly. And you would, I mean, people save things, but this one, who would have ever thought to keep this ticket?
And it's a full ticket.
It's a full ticket. And I mean, it's beyond rare, and it's the only known. And I'll tell you, that's another kind of piece that people are really, really going towards, the debut tickets.
Yes.
And we've seen it in all sports, but this one here with Kobe, it's just amazing that, where this came from. I mean, just think somebody could have seen him.
Unbelievable that it's not used, because there's a lot of hype for Kobe playing. Fans lined up to get tickets, thousands of fans. Only 4,000 were in there, but people were 3 deep at the railings. It was way over capacity. They oversold it even. And 2,000 fans were turned away and couldn't get inside. But here's one ticket that somebody didn't use.
Somebody did not use. So right now, 30,000. But with the way these things are going, nothing surprises me. Anymore. Honestly, I mean, it's just it's a really cool ticket.
Of course, we've got some tickets from the GOAT, Tom Brady, in the
Derek
auction.
Grady? Oh, I thought maybe Derek Grady. I'm sorry.
I'm sure that's what he's thinking. He filled it in back over in the office. But what Brady ticket were you going to talk about?
This is his NFL debut. It was during the Thanksgiving Day game in 2000. He came in at the end of the game, spelled Drew Bledsoe, and
how'd he do?
I can't remember.
Did we know he was
I
going
think
to win
it was,
the Super Bowl?
Like 3 for 4 or something.
That first pass, everybody knew this is going to be a 7-time Super Bowl winner.
Basically, mop-up duty, and this stub is the highest graded, PSA 9. Came in, I want to say about January.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my God, the guy had 2 of them. One had the paper loss, and then this one here, I'm like, it's nice. I didn't know it was going to come back at 9.
Yeah,
and,
beautiful example.
Oh, just gorgeous, and nice graphics to it too. But who would have thought? Detroit doesn't really inspire too many football.
But their former quarterback just won a Super Bowl, so that's something for the Lions.
And he's a local boy too. So
yeah, of course, Dallas's own.
Yes.
So there's another layer to the ticket market as well, autographed tickets. And we have, in fact, it's right behind us right there, another debut ticket from Tom Brady. This one's autographed. It's a PSA 9 autograph. Only 2 are signed. And this is the highest graded of those 2. And he put NFL debut inscription on it.
I love that paint pen.
Yes.
It just
looks very good.
At you.
He's got the Detroit Lions blue pen even right there on the ticket.
The thing about that is too that's not the Ticketmaster version. That's like the season ticket.
That's a season ticket holder ticket. So another level of rarity. That's things collectors love is those certain criteria and things that differentiate some tickets from others, or cards, or whatever they may collect.
And now Brady doesn't really, to get to him is so difficult. He's
making movies now.
Yeah, he's doing everything, and he's with Fanatics, so he may never sign those again.
Yeah.
He could say, I don't want to sign tickets.
Yeah.
And then
well, what if he needs the money, Tony?
I don't think so.
Just ask his wife. She's
Exactly.
the real
She's the breadwinner.
breadwinner. So this is a Brady ticket I love. This is the finest Tom Brady Super Bowl ticket that exists. This is from 2002 Super Bowl 36, the Brady and the Pats' first Super Bowl title. And it's a PSA 10, and the autograph is a 10. So matching
Can't beat
10s
that,
on
can
this
you?
one. It's the only Gem Mint 10 example, and it's the rare gold variety for the limited seating suite level at the Superdome.
Wow.
So just keeps ratcheting it up with this one, and beautiful signature from the GOAT there as well.
Couple bids just came in. I
Yeah,
think
hit me with
your Plough's Candy here, $175,000 for the Ty Cobb, the Wagner, $160,000. So
Those are going to see some more action tonight.
Yeah.
I think, they're just so rare, and people are looking for that right now. People are always looking for it, but especially now, moneyed people are really looking for it.
mm-hmm.
And with that Wagner, to say I have the only one known, part of collecting we always talk about
And
is
it's Wagner.
bragging.
Yeah, and it's Wagner.
Wagner.
I mean,
So-
he just moves the radar.
So we're going to take a short break. I forgot to tell people, if you have any questions or comments and you're watching us on Facebook or any of the other places where you can respond, please let us know. We'd love to talk to you. But let's listen to some of our experts talk about some of the vintage cards. And then on the other side, we'll come back and talk about some of the modern cards.
So featured in our February Platinum Night auction, we have an iconic Babe Ruth card signed, 1933 Gaudy, number 181.
Impressive.
An impressive card, and then with the signature, a black fountain pen signature signed diagonally across his chest. It's a beautiful card, and we know, people used to send cards away to players, or they would get them at the games to get a Ruth or a Gehrig, and you have seen some come out, and the values have skyrocketed. A lot of people collect signed rookie cards to find signatures of the Babe on, not a strip card or a postcard or some card they'd mail back, an original 33 Gaudy card. Tough
Have you
to find.
seen this example too?
I have seen it. The signature is graded a 7.
Which I find to be completely undergraded.
I think it's at least an 8, and I would certainly review it. I don't know what they'll do, but when you see a black fountain pen Ruth signature that you can literally see across the room, I find that hard to believe that can only be a 7.
Correct.
But maybe, as we know how graders are, because we were both graders, not autograph graders, okay, but card graders, and people tend to go a little bit conservative when you see a Babe Ruth or Mickey Mantle, okay?
And I think they've done that on this card.
And I think they have too. It's investment quality. It is a beautiful signature on an iconic card of Babe Ruth.
So look for this one in our...
Featured in our Platinum Night auction in February is a 52 Topps Mantle, number 311, one of the most iconic cards. That
certainly is.
Certainly is, and we get excited every time we bring one in. We talk about it all the time, whether it's a 3, a 4, a 5, obviously in an 8. This is investment grade. The grading companies are so tight right now, they're not grading other 8s. It's tough to get a 7.
Not. It is one of the cards that we find comes up very seldom. There have only been 2 that have sold in 2021, both reaching $2 million. This one that we have, I think, should probably bring somewhere in that neighborhood when we finally see the final price realized.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's obviously one of the most iconic cards in the hobby, and there is no shortage of bidders or anybody that wants a card. And again, in an investment grade as an 8, again, getting more and more difficult. They haven't graded a 9. There's, I think, 6 9s, a few 10s, and we know those aren't coming out.
They are not.
And we did have we were fortunate to sell a 9. So 8s are more affordable, maybe not for you and I, but for
our vast clientele, it should be.
So looking forward to see the bidding action on this one. Coming up in our February Platinum Night auction is a iconic card that you and I had the pleasure of working with the consignor to bring in, and Clemente is my favorite player, even though I didn't get to see him play, as you know. His 55 Topps high number rookie card, a tough card. What do you think about the centering on this card? What do you think about this card?
I think it's an absolutely fabulous card. The centering, the bright white borders of it. Clemente's image on the card isn't out of focus. It just has great overall eye appeal, and it is every bit of an 8 and would compare to any card that you put up against it. of that grade.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And as we know with Clemente's, the centering is paramount, and this card usually comes off center. And to get the corners, the centering, the color, the focus in an 8, and it's graded by SGC.
Yep.
We graded it SGC. Hey, maybe one of us graded it back in the day. Who knows?
We could have, and we were conservative.
And we were conservative.
And
so
this card shows it.
it's something to look at in this auction.
And by the way, this card was reholdered from an old label to the new.
So it definitely was one of us.
It was definitely one of us.
Coming up in our February Platinum Night auction, we have a iconic card of a great base stealer and leadoff hitter, Rickey Henderson, graded a PSA 10. And if you remember, this card maybe 5 years ago was in the $30,000 range. Now it is a tough card. You can open up a vending case and not even get a 9 on one of these cards. And this is graded a Gem Mint 10. We have it estimated at 100 plus.
Yeah, it's not too often you see these modern cards, hitting that 6-figure mark. And I think he is the only one from the 1980s that will probably ever hit that mark.
As far as a baseball player.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. And if you ask Rickey himself, he will tell you he's the greatest of all time.
He was.
He was. So, and it is turned out to be, they have been going for over 6 figures now for the last few years. I don't know the PSA has even graded another 10. If they have, it's been 1 or 2. So again,
Correct.
we have another, investment quality card with the potential, if there's not that many more graded, that this is, a tough one to come by when you're filling out your Hall of Fame rookie collection.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest in the building. Mr. Chris Narrett, welcome.
How you doing? Speaking the microphone or what?
Speak into the microphone. Look, he's an expert.
Why am I the only one that gets this funky microphone here?
We know you're a big Bob Barker fan, so
It's VIP.
there you go. So we got the whole staff in for the auction closing. Chris wanted to pop in and talk about one of the items that was added late to the auction, actually.
Yes, a late addition. This is a game-used football from Super Bowl 52, and it just happens to be a touchdown ball that Tom Brady threw to Rob Gronkowski. And it's photo matched by Resolution Photo Matching.
To the spike afterwards by Gronk.
Yeah, super cool photo match. And it's only at 30,000 right now, but that is a heck of a deal. And it's very low right now. I guarantee it's going to get a lot more bidding, but I just want to make sure people realize that this is in the auction because it's not in the catalog. It was a late edition. This is the only Tom Brady touchdown ball from a Super Bowl that's ever been offered.
Wow.
And he holds the record for Super Bowl touchdowns at 21. So this is
unreal.
One of 21 of his Super Bowl touchdown balls. And if you just, think about how many rookie cards there are that are $1 million or more, just the insert cards or any of them, the patch cards, whatever.
Manufactured material.
Yeah.
So this was in the game,
This was in the game, and it's super cool. So after a player scores a touchdown, a lot of times they'll toss the ball or someone will toss the ball to the equipment guy, and then they'll wrap the athletic tape around it, and then they'll mark it. So then they don't lose it, obviously, and it's, notated properly. So this originally came from Rob Gronkowski. He didn't consign it, but it originated from him. And the reason why he sold it is because they lost the game.
Right. And, of those 21, there's some that Brady's probably holding on to, his first one, maybe his last one, whoever caught them, especially, they didn't have a lot of big name receivers. It could be one of their most special possessions.
Probably their biggest moment of their career.
Right.
So how many of these are ever going to get out?
And especially the level that Brady ended up at now with 7 Super Bowls, if you're a third string receiver and you caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl from Tom Brady, you're keeping it. That's
and
all
just think it's from basically one Hall of Famer to another Hall of Famer.
All century
team member to another all-century.
I mean, that's incredible.
It's pretty cool. It should be in the Hall of Fame, but it's sitting in my hand right now, and it's super good.
So what else in the auction are you excited about, Chris? There's a lot going down. You brought in some of the top items.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to work with Michael Cole, who a great guy who just happened to not have a lot of friends on October 26, 1984.
So you guys could relate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my only friend right here. But anyway, he consigned the full Michael Jordan debut ticket. And his story to me when I talked to him is he was like, yeah, I guess I didn't have a friend that day to go with to the game, so I went by myself. He had a pair of tickets, and
so did he keep? Was he a hoarder? Like to have held on to that game, you know, it couldn't have been a big game in his mind. So why did he keep it?
I mean, you know, Michael Jordan was a big deal coming out of college, and he went to Northwestern, so he was in the Chicago area, and he wanted to see Michael Jordan play. He remembers, you know, the plays. He was telling me, you know, in detail what happened in the game.
Oh, wow.
So it was a big deal to him. You know, I asked him, did he keep the stub? And he didn't. I don't remember, you know, other than he said that he didn't have it. I don't remember why, if he threw it away or misplaced it or whatever. Or he
knew
full.
Even back then, the full's the one to hold on.
Yeah. And
what, he had it in a box or something?
You know, I don't even. I think in a book or in some
Like
sort
memories
of
or
some
something.
sort of like a manila envelope or something that he just filed away or found it. You know, recently after he saw what the other one with the stub sold for, I think in December for 250,000 plus. And at any rate, yeah, I think that it's pretty cool because, you know, and, you know, we deal with a lot of dealers and a lot of big time investors. Well, Michael was just a normal guy. Like, you know, everybody keeps their tickets from a concert, their ticket stubs from a concert, or if they go to WWE wrestling, they keep their ticket stubs. And Michael, you know, he was just a normal guy and he kept his full ticket, and you know it's going to most likely be the record breaking ticket for the highest.
It already is. The only way it wouldn't be is if something else in this auction.
Well, and the Jackie Robinson ticket may
so they're kind of going back and forth.
Yeah, I mean you just don't know, but either way, it's just cool to deal with consigners like him because he just was happy that it's worth something, and you know it's over $250,000.
Did he have any idea what the value was?
I don't think he did until he saw that one stub sold for that kind of money, and then I think he lost a little bit of sleep that night thinking about it, and then maybe made some calls to different auction houses, and thank God he picked us, and I think he made the right choice.
Yeah, and Chris works in our Chicago office. Along with Jonathan Fold. So if you're out there, you can stop by, talk to Chris.
One other thing that just got bid, the Ice Bowl ticket, signed by Vince Lombardi. Tell us about that one a little bit.
Yeah, that one's crazy.
That's another one. There's so many good stories in this auction, background stories. That one came from a guy named Bruce Hutchin, and he was dating his future wife, who just happened to be friends with Sue Lombardi. That's Vince Lombardi's daughter. And they ended up going to the 1967 NFL championship game on December 31st, 1967. So it was New Year's Eve. Went to the game. Packers won the championship against Dallas in thrilling fashion, frigid temperatures.
Some would say, I guess.
Yeah. and then after that, of course, you know, they're kids. They're teenagers or young adults. And they wanted to go out and party it up on New Year's Eve in downtown Green Bay, probably, like we've done. Tony and I are from there, and
it's a hot location to this day.
Before they went to the restaurant or the bar that they were going to go to, his future wife brought him to a house. There was a party there, and she didn't tell him where they were going. So they get in the house and they started going down to the basement, the famous Vince Lombardi basement. There's a smiling Italian guy, Vince Lombardi, smiling at him and said, "There's my girl," to her, and gave him a hug. And then Bruce is like shaking, and he had the ticket stub in his pocket, and he said, "Sir, could you sign it?" He goes, "Give me that thing," and he ripped out a pen and he signed it. Wow! So not only is it probably the only signed ticket from any game from Vince Lombardi, it's the Ice Bowl, and it was signed
in Lombardi's basement
hours after, in his basement. It's probably the most significant, and I don't want to keep using terms like that, but it's one of the most significant Packer tickets in existence, or even Vince Lombardi items. I mean, the Ice Bowl is just mythical. And when I was dealing with him, I kind of put myself in that spot, like going down in the basement. You kind of relive the history. I've been in that house, and I've never been in the basement, but yeah, it was just a great story.
You know, with tickets, everybody's been talking about them. That's a surging part of the market. And, you know, a ticket is a story of whatever happened in that game. And then that one has the added backstory of
Afterwards,
the
going to
Lombardi
his house.
after party.
And one thing I'll say that's really cool about that ticket, it's not a small chunk of the ticket stub. It's almost a full ticket.
Oh, wow. So
Like
it's
the ticket taker was being kind to Bruce on December 31st, 1967, because he didn't tear a big chunk off. So it's that. And it's such a colorful ticket. It's got the yellow and the red, white, and blue shield. And then Vince put a pretty darn solid signature on there, pretty dark. And it's signed in the perfect location. It's not signed in a dark place where you can't read it. And then it's got that added touch with the PSA slab that everybody loves.
Yes.
And it's super cool. Super cool.
Fantastic piece. You've done good work on this auction, Chris.
You know,
You try.
I'm blessed. I will say I think my dad is watching, and I want to give him a shout out though for, you know, always bringing me to the card shows in Green Bay. We'd have to drive an hour from our hometown whenever I wanted to, and I wouldn't be sitting in this position right now without, you know, my parents putting up with me and letting me go spend my $5 on a pack of 1990 Fleer basketball at the Midway Motor Lodge in Green Bay. So
and a shout out to the Midway Motor Lodge as well.
Green Bay,
those were the best shows.
Oh my God.
They'd bring in Ray Nitschke, Warren Spahn, my buddy Tom Murphy. He would promote the shows, and he'd bring on some pretty cool guys. Johnny Logan, I remember.
You must have done Cannondale, I bet.
Tony actually never got to those shows.
No, that was the big
because
city.
at that point your parents just had the horse drawn riding carriage that they would just go to the market to in Coleman, Wisconsin.
Once a month we'd get into town.
Getting all the notable Wisconsin hotspots in this segment here.
He used to come into my hometown because they wanted to go to McDonald's because they didn't
Taco Bell.
Taco Bell and McDonald's.
You
So
drive
I started
30
meeting
minutes.
this guy. We had a card shop in our town, and Tony lived like 20 miles from us, and we were a small town too, but his was not a town.
Even
it was like
smaller.
a speck of dust on the radar. But this loud, laughable guy who used to come into the card shop. Who's this character? And he's like, "Yeah, we're going to Taco Bell. We had time to get some packs first."
It's not a bad impression. So anything else in the auction that you're excited about?
There's so much. I mean, the Amelia Earhart flight cap.
What's that, Tony?
That was at 155.
I also was the consignment director on that. And there's another great guy, Anthony Twiggs from Minnesota. He consigned that, and his mother went to this flight exhibition for female aeronautics personalities. And Amelia Earhart flew in. I think they flew into the Cleveland airport, and I guess Bruce's mother and some friends, they went to watch her land. And for whatever reason, the cap was just on the runway. And I guess the mother's friend picked it up and gave it to her.
Wow.
And that's how they found it. And, you know, it's one of those really cool pieces that really caught my eye because Resolution Photo matched it. And you don't see that. You know,
you see jerseys, and that's what you think. That's what you think if you don't think of them doing other things.
Yeah.
And
and a lot of times those, you know, you'll see a Abe Lincoln piece or a Buffalo Bill piece or, you know, this Americana stuff. And you know, you're dealing with something that you're buying a story, you're buying the provenance, which is almost the best form that you can get of authenticity for an item. But that was definitively photo matched to multiple photos, and I believe also photo matched to the image of Amelia Earhart wearing the cap on her flying license.
Yes.
We found it online. And I mean, it's
and the patterns in the leather is what they were able to match. And I mean, if you look at it, there's no denying that that's the same.
It's like a
cap from this
fingerprint.
image.
It's like a fingerprint.
Very cool.
So, you know, it's you know, you wonder if there's like DNA of Amelia Earhart in that, you know, like someone that disappeared and you have, you know, it's like a part of her. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and our coworker Jonathan was talking about he talked to somebody that's involved in the search for her right now, and they think they're getting close, guys. So
Wow.
imagine if you pick this up now, what a huge story that would be if she her final resting place of the plane was discovered, and where the value for this would be if that happened.
Oh yeah, because it'll be in the public eye
Right. That
worldwide.
would, be just like when they discovered the Titanic finally, but it was an even bigger mystery. So very cool historical item. We've got some great historical items in this auction as well. What else you got?
Oh,
Mary?
man.
You're full of content here. Let's keep going.
Well, I mean, I was just watching the Bucks Nets game
How's Ibaka doing?
on ABC tonight. Ibaka, he's probably got 6. But before the game, Wilbon and Stephen A. Smith were talking about who's the best player in the NBA right now. Is it Giannis or is it Kevin Durant? And I think that we have a game-worn jerseys from each of them in
correct.
the auction.
Wow,
So
nicely done.
Yes,
That's really
that's
good.
Giannis is photo match too, as well. Correct.
I believe they both are, and I think that they're in session 2 tomorrow.
And we also have Giannis's debut ticket.
Yes, and that's doing really well.
I
It's
saw
at
that got a
near
whole bunch of
$6,000
signed by him. He debuted against the Knicks, and I believe they gave the
MSG.
Knicks a beat down
because
there.
Carmelo Anthony is on the ticket.
Yeah. So that's a cool one. What else you got? Keep going. You're on a roll here.
Well,
No pressure.
yeah, good question.
Well, you think
What about some of
about
the
it.
football items? Anything?
I'm a big Packer guy, obviously, and there's a lot of cool Packer items. There's I believe, a 1926, 27 program from the Bears Packer game. That's pretty neat. You don't see those very often. Really cool cover on there. There's a blue and gold sideline cape, which
I saw that.
they actually wore that blue and gold style. They kept carrying it over because teams were a lot cheaper back then, and even though their jerseys were green and gold, they had those capes, and they played some pretty darn cold championship games in the 60s
In New York?
so you can match those. They wore them in the 1960 championship game in Philly. They wore it in, I believe, 61, 62 at Yankee Stadium. And then I couldn't match it to 65, but then the Ice Bowl, some people were wearing the green ones.
Wow.
And some players were wearing the blue ones. So it's, it's worn in probably 4 championship games.
Wow.
So that's around $6,000 right now. I think that's a steal. I think it should be a 5-figure item. Yeah, there's just lots of cool pieces. Some graded Super Bowl I program. There's a graded Super Bowl I ticket.
Yeah.
Lots of fun stuff, and the bidding has been very spirited today, very early today, which was really good sign and really exciting. So I think there's gonna be a lot of bidding wars at the end, and just glad to be a part of it.
Yeah. Tony, what's going on the bid board? What's getting hit right now?
The Cassius Clay, 33,000. The Hemmett's.
Oh, the
Journal.
Hemmett's Journal, the
Yep.
Cassius Clay rookie.
And then the Tom Brady ticket we were talking about, that one went up 19,500. There's more room for that, of course. To go up. I think
There's a lot of great Brady tickets. I think we're going to see some action on those in the next. You got about an hour before extended bidding.
1 hour
begins
and
in
8
session
minutes. 1 hour and 8 minutes.
All right,
Serena
Tony.
Williams, 80,000 on that.
Wow.
On that card.
Unbelievable.
So, yeah, that is.
That's probably benefiting from the King Richard movie as well. She's an icon. She's in the news often, but
She is.
when you have
She
a
is.
movie made about your life, that takes you up to another level.
yeah.
I saw there's a Mike Tyson card from '88.
Yes.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the Tyson rookie.
I'm a big Tyson guy. Saw him
You
fight,
saw him,
Saw him
didn't you?
fight live once. It was a bad fight. It was in Detroit, but it was cool to see him.
We also
See him in person. I mean,
We also have Holyfield's robe from the first time he fought Tyson.
Not the bite fight,
Not the
the
bite
first
fight.
one.
The other one.
I was actually at Tony Giese's house in Coleman, Wisconsin. We had his whole living room full of our college buddies to watch the bite fight.
the reaction
Yeah, and that ended
was
in the
priceless.
second round, maybe. It was
Something
early.
like that.
I as well. Me and our friends bought it all, and it was 5 minutes. It was over.
It was
We looked at each
crazy.
other in the living room and like, huh? That's it? Like, they can't just stop it. You guys are missing half his ear. Stop it. He let it go once after he got it
you're
missed the
right.
first
He
time.
did.
Mills Lane. Yeah, that was the best.
I told
Yeah,
him to
there's
stop
some
it.
cool boxing items in there. We've got some Muhammad Ali fight-worn gloves, a Muhammad Ali contract in there as well, fight contract. So for the fans of pugilism, there's plenty to offer as well.
And after this video thing, we're going to have Tony Giese against Rob Rosen in the squared circle
He'd kill
for
me.
the death match.
He'd kill me.
Rob's the old guy that works in our department.
Yes.
Right? That
The
one.
good-looking guy.
I don't
the
know.
good-looking
I don't
guy.
know him, but I have seen him around. when he makes it into the office.
Oh,
of
Well,
course.
we're gonna cart him in here so he can fight Tony. And Mark Jordan is a special guest referee.
Oh, I like that. Hobby luminary.
Mhm.
All right, Tony, let's talk some cards. We promised people we'd talk some cards.
1954 Stahlmeyer Franks.
You talked
This
about
is
the mantle one earlier.
The mantle, and now this one's starting to really creep up. The Willie Mays, population 2 with one higher, and that one's at 31,000 right now.
Wow. That's a big price.
Again,
So
I
what's the
think
story with those? Were they like condition sensitive because they're in the packaging?
They were put in the packs of hot dogs, so most of them were stained right
terrible
away,
condition.
and they were hard to preserve, and you rarely see them. When you see them, they're usually one or authentic. So to have them, high grade, these never made it in the packs. So
How did they come out?
it was one of the guys who worked for them. He kept a couple, and then his son inherited them, and then these came out of the Midwest. So it's crazy,
Just like you guys.
Yeah, it's just like us.
Where was the hot dog company? Was it like a Midwest regional?
New York.
It was New York.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, they just featured the 3 New York teams when they came out.
and I think they almost look identical every year.
Yes.
The card, because the mantle was the same, other than this has the yellow background rather than the white background. So they didn't really change it up too much.
Yeah,
But,
indeed.
Yeah, just
How about Michael Jordan, Tony?
1986-87. This is the first Gem in 10 we've
Heard of
had
it.
in a little while. Yeah, I mean this.
For a while there, we had one every month.
Exactly. Now people haven't really been selling them quite as much. Now this one's at 240,000. It's the card. I mean, this is our
How
generation.
many are there graded at 10?
I want to say 39.
That's it.
Wait, no,
No,
wait.
330, I
it was
believe.
339. I'm sorry, 339. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, you used to see them with regularity, and you haven't really seen them sell all that much.
There was a fever pitch for them there for a while. They've kind of settled
Yep.
a little
They're
bit.
stuck
but,
in collections right now.
yes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah,
But very hard, if any were to come out now raw, to get a 10 at this point, given where the price point is. We got one, I think it was a year ago, that was raw, that we got a 10. Was the only one that's been added as far as we know.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But
so
this is a
hard to get
beautiful
those top grade.
example, and iconic card that everybody needs right now, and we'll see where it ends up tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, this one is a little bit modern and a little bit vintage, guys.
I think this is such an undervalued box.
Wait, what box are you talking about?
The one he just had clicked on there.
The
Yeah,
one
let's talk about it.
We're going to talk about.
I think that is the coolest darn thing. And what does a box of 86 Fleer basketball sell for now?
about 180,
Yeah.
Or more.
almost
I mean, this
200.
should be right up there.
and these are much tougher.
Way tougher.
Yeah,
It's
so
the
this is the
79.
79
Yeah.
79
OPG.
OPG.
I wonder how many Gretzky's come, like
Was
on
it
average.
36 packs. I
There's
think it was?
48 packs.
Oh, is it
in there.
48 packs?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how many you get, but just the problem.
So I
with
know
that
you get
set
like
is-
3 Jordans per
Yeah.
box usually.
And that's a real small set. I think this is a bigger set, but the whole thing is on those Opeachis, the centering, and then of course we all know of the rough cut, but the centering on those is so tough that and
Printing problems and
Mhm.
all that other stuff. So it's tough to get.
How much fun would it be to rip one of those open?
I
I think that after the boxing match, we should get that. We'd get a lot of views.
We'd get a lot of views. We'd all be fired, but hey, we had a good run, didn't we?
I was just watching. So this next card is, like I said, a little bit modern, a little bit vintage, but the ultimate one-of-one signature card here, in my opinion. It's a 2008 Upper Deck, and you've got Cobb, Mathewson, Ruth, Johnson, Wagner autographs on this one, the 1936 first class of the Hall of Fame there, a BGS Gem Mint 9.5. We posted this on the social earlier this week, and a lot of people admiring how beautifully it was crafted. They took a lot of time to find the right size signatures.
That's
so
got to
they
be a
all
challenge.
fit. Yes,
It has
definitely,
to be
especially with
really
those
hard to,
names.
do that.
But yeah, fits it perfectly, and the autographs are, I'd say, a conservative 8 on this one. But fantastic piece here, and well put together by the good folks at Upper Deck. And then, of course, Tom Brady, ladies
Who?
and gentlemen. Yeah.
I haven't heard that name in a while.
This is his 2020 Panini Honors signature orange card. It's a PSA Gem Mint 10. with a 10 auto, and it's a 1 of 1. What more need you say about a Tom Brady card right there? And from his Super Bowl season, his final Super Bowl season, we know now.
He's still got one more left.
You think he's got one more?
Think he'll come back?
He's going to make
I wish
one
he
road
did.
trip comedy movie and then come back to the NFL. But fantastic Brady 1 of 1, and of course that's going to get a lot of interest. And then another GOAT, guys. This is the 2016 Panini Select Lionel Messi Select Few Gold card. And Lionel Messi, of course, wears number 10. This one is a PSA Gem Mint 10, and it's number 10.
Oh, wow.
Out of 10.
His jersey number.
So a lot of 10s for Messi. He's been in the news a lot, of course, lately. And his material's been doing fantastic. And this is one of the coolest Messi cards we've been privileged to offer.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Tony, I knew you were going to talk about this next
This
one.
one
As soon as I saw it come in, I knew this
1982.
moment right here would happen.
1982 Cosmos Hulk Hogan card. You're seeing a lot of movement.
Japanese?
I think he was turned in Japan, maybe.
Yes, that is correct.
And the PSA 9, but look at those dark borders. Look at those corners. To get a 9 on that, it's a smaller card. It's not the regular, it's not the regular size that you typically see. And it's just one of those, one of those smaller issues. And you just don't see very many high grade. And Hogan now, you're seeing wrestling become a little more mainstream. And a lot
So
of
is that
people,
considered his rookie card? No, right? He had that.
there's the Wrestling All-Stars was like 82 and 83.
Is that his rookie?
That is the one that people say is his rookie card.
This one's probably tougher.
Is much more difficult. So I had never seen one before.
Did you ever have one of these in your
I
possession?
did not.
You didn't?
No, we had what did we have? The Prism stickers. I remember those. Remember like the Michael Jordan.
Don't know what he's talking about.
That's what I remember. I remember those
You
stickers.
get those at the roller rink.
Exactly.
Yes.
We,
Roller rink in Marinette.
but the ones we got were AWA wrestling ones. Were the ones that I remember. So
Do we get a sponsorship by the Wisconsin Tourism Board here?
that
Because we're
roller
really
derby
giving
has
them a lot of
changed
shout-outs
hands
here.
probably 6 different times.
Swamp water.
Swamp,
Remember that?
dude.
They mixed
my
Mountain
God.
Dew and Coke.
It was all these different sodas, and it was a
and
big
we
deal.
thought it was the coolest thing
Oh my
ever.
That
God!
explains a lot, guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's
Look
the
at some of
first
it down
thing.
there. A lot of swamp water in that belly.
I think we're gonna have to have
Oh my
Tony
God.
drink a swamp water on one of these sometime.
I'll tell you, we will have to do that for sure. Oh my God!
All right. Speaking of wax, this is one of the most valuable on the modern side. It's the 2003 Upper Deck Exquisite Collection Basketball Hobby Factory Sealed Box.
What was
Tony,
the price on these? I remember
$500 when they
at
came
that
in
time that was a huge
for
deal.
5 cards.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? But now, if you could go back,
That's
you'd buy them
nothing
all.
now.
Yeah. Now it's a whole different story.
Of course, the unbelievable draft class in there. And so $500 seems like a bargain because this could hit 6 figures tonight, this box. And what you're getting there, one signed patch card numbered to 100 or fewer, one signed rookie patch card numbered to 200 or fewer, and 3 other cards numbered to 225 or fewer. And this one is a beautiful box. It is in pristine condition, looks fantastic. This will be interesting. Another one that would be fun to open.
Yeah,
up,
that
right?
would be a blast.
It wouldn't take as long to rip all of them as would that 79 OPG with the 48 packs. That would be a long endeavor. This one would be over like that, but
You could be really happy though if you get like a LeBron or if you get one of the big ones.
Yeah, Wade in there as well. Bosch.
Yeah, that was a great class.
All right, Tony. I like this cello pack.
Yeah,
you,
this one
brought
here.
up
Can you imagine finding one of these?
I think that's a super cool piece.
It is, and especially in that PSA holder like that. It's the Walter Payton rookie, but it's in a cello pack, and it's the top card.
Right.
And the grade, it's a PSA Mint 9. So
I like how he's just peeking out over the sticker.
Yeah,
there, too.
I just-
Centering on that card's pretty solid.
and I remember, going to the pharmacy and getting cards, and when they had those cello packs, buying them as a kid. Mine's more mid 80s.
Did you save any? You don't seem like a saver, Tony.
I mean, I saved the cards, but I had to open them up. I could not have a
I
pack.
could never. Yeah,
I tried to do
always
that,
had
and a
to.
couple days later, I'm like, I got to know what's inside there. I had to.
Yeah,
I
don't
just
blame
couldn't do it.
And you're never, labeled as an anxious guy.
All right. Well, we're going to take a short break. Tony, give us another hit on what's going on
All
the
right,
big board. Let's see. We've got just under an hour to get bid before extended bidding begins. What do you got, Tony?
165,000 for the Amelia Earhart.
Wow.
Kobe
Cap.
Bryant, professional debut ticket that we talked about, 32,000.
Very nice.
Wow.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break. And while we do that, we're going to come back and talk about some basketball stuff on the other side. But first, we're going to see Tony talk about that Patrick Ewing jersey. And then Tony conducted an interview, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to take a look at that as well. Enjoy.
Came in at a show we were doing late last year. One of just an outstanding Patrick Ewing game used jersey. And when the consignor brought it in, my eyes almost popped out of my head just when I looked at it and seeing the use on this jersey. Puckering, very heavy puckering on the jersey.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be
want to
great.
break it to my
You want to crush the hearts of the ladies in Chicago like that?
I've had it for like 4 years. I haven't met a single name. All right, boys.
All right. Much appreciated.
So
I wish some of the other guys would hop on.
Rob.
I was thinking more Emler with his rugged good looks could really help us out here. Knowledge too, of course. But
It is rugged good look. So cream.
yeah, so you're gonna do the
I'll do the Roby stuff that they both have reserved. No, that's good. Oh, the Lampier.
yeah. There's some cool basketball stuff.
Yeah.
Came in at a show we were doing late last year. One of just an outstanding Patrick Ewing game used jersey. And when the consignor brought it in, my eyes almost popped out of my head just when I looked at it and seeing the use on this jersey. Puckering, very heavy puckering on the jersey. I did tell the consignor it's very likely this will photo match, and it did photo match to an undated image. So, and it also sports a signature. And as basketball fans can tell you, Patrick Ewing is very difficult with autographs, doesn't do a lot of signings. So that's a nice added layer. Great use throughout. This is what a really high-end game used jersey should look like. Used for probably months on end. And 1991-92, it's got the year in the tail. One of the nicest Patrick Ewings you could ever find.
Thank you so much for making some time today, and just wanted to kind of talk to you about your career. And you've got some really interesting items that are up in our catalog sale that in our Platinum Night auction. And just kind of wanted to talk to you about a couple of the items. First and foremost, can you describe the moment when that championship, when you saw 0.00 on the clock, and what's going through your mind, and just kind of take us through that whole moment of life?
We had a really close-knit group of guys. I mean, Bird, Parrish, McKell, M.L. Carr, Cedric Maxwell, Tiny Archibald, Chris Ford. We were all really close, maybe a little more different than today's game. And when we finally achieved that goal, it was a dream come true. And, I was blessed to win a high school championship, a college championship, then here finally being on the NBA championship just was a huge achievement.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So kind of take us through the whole moment, I guess. You're on the bench kind of celebrating with your teammates. And then you decide, hey, let me grab this ball as
the number one thing I said, and I even remember going to the locker room. I said, Bird, I've got it. Put it right there in my gym bag. And when I got home back to Boston, I actually, went and saw Red Auerbach, got him to sign it. Bill Fitch, all the coaches, trainers, all the players. And then I had a company actually put on the ball, Boston Celtics, world champions, 1981. And, it's been a treasure to me, but it's been in a safe. I've never really displayed it because I was afraid something might happen to it. Mm-hmm. So I just felt like now it's been over 40 years, or it is 40 years, and it's time to come out of my safe and let somebody display it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So So take me through the moment. Did you just? How did you get it exactly? Did one of your teammates have it, and then you just said, "I'm keeping this"? Or
I just grabbed the ball. I can just remember going into the locker room with it and putting it in my gym bag and tucking it under. And then all the champagne and all the celebration happened. And
what a moment! What a moment that must have been.
It was a great moment.
You had a very decorated college career, and you had a remarkable performance in the title game when you won at Kentucky. Take us through that. 8 for 11, 20 points. And Goose Gibbons.
That was just, we were picked that year to win it.
Okay.
It was our last shot at it. We had made it to the finals my freshman year, playing against John Wooten in his last game, and we got beat by him. My sophomore year, I missed 2/3 of that season with a knee injury, came back my junior year, and back when I played, there wasn't a clock. So we were down 12 points to North Carolina in the Eastern Regionals, and they four-cornered it on us. So we ended up losing North Carolina that year. Following year, Macy joined our team, and we were picked to win it. And when that buzzer went off, it was just another dream come true. We finally achieved the goal that Phillips, Givens, Lee, and myself set out for 4 years earlier.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And to this day, I still have that debt from the game. I still have the transcripts back when they had the blue paper of the whole game, play-by-play. My father kept that for me. So just a lot of great memories.
Mm-hmm. Did you always collect as a kid, or how did you? I mean,
if I was smart, I should have really collected when Bird's locker was sitting right next to me. But not really. Those were just moments when you win something that you knew you could have a treasure.
Yeah.
So, and I wasn't really thinking about 40 years later. But those type of things you really don't want to set out. So they all sit in my safe here at the house.
Sure. And then at 19, you went to the Pan American Games and you got a gold medal there. So what's your secret? I mean,
I was a freshman, and back then they didn't really allow freshmen to try out. And Adolph Rupp was on the Olympic Committee, and Adolph was the reason why I got a chance. Joe Hall talked to him, and I got a chance to go out to Salt Lake City, and they had roughly probably 100 to 110 players for 12 spots. And I was blessed enough to be able to make that team. And what's crazy is on that team was Robert Parrish, who I ended up playing with in Boston, Johnny Davis, Otis Birdsong.
Great names. Names.
Norm Cook. So a lot of just great players that went on to have great pro careers.
Now, you were really close with Larry Bird. You guys had a great relationship. How did that develop? Is it just something that when he was young, you took him under your wing, or how did that develop?
Well, I think it was because we were both recruited by the same teams. We played in the World Invitational Games together. Okay. And then when he got drafted and I got traded to Boston, I think we already had a relationship. But then again, we're both kind of just simple going type people. I guess you call us a little bit redneck, but we like the same things. We like playing golf. We like drinking a cold beer here and there. So it was all good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, you and Parrish, I mean, my goodness, talk about a tandem. Kind of take us through how it was playing with him, because he was really a huge difference maker.
What's kind of crazy is he and I played in the same high school league in Louisiana. And Robert won the state championship 2 years before I did. I had transferred from the public schools to the private schools, so I had to sit out my sophomore year, the year Robert won it. And he was player of the year in Louisiana 2 years before I was. So we had a relationship for a long time from high school. Then he went to Centenary. I never got to play against him in college, but then Small World Pan American Games, we played together, and then we ended up in Boston.
Was there a certain point on that Celtics championship team that you thought, you know what, this team is good enough to win a title? Because they had a little dry spell for a while there, and then of course Bird comes there. But was there a certain moment where you're like, you know what, this team is good enough? And
well, I mean, our practices were probably as tough as the games. You know, our first team, I still say to this day, was the greatest backline to ever play. You put Parrish, McHale, and Bird, I don't think there's anybody in the league today that's any better. A tandem of three people like those three guys. Then with our bench, you know, you had Cedric Maxwell, you had M.L. Carr, you had just all these great players coming off the bench. And I just felt like it was our year to do it.
What was the thing that I know you mentioned you guys were really close as a team? Was there anything else that really set this team apart? I mean, obviously you guys had so many talented players, but was there any other intangible that you could point to and say, man, we just had this that
Well, I don't know if you recall when Danny Ainge and Tree Rollins got into it, and Tree Rollins bit Danny's finger about off. Danny was going down the floor swinging at Tree, and Tree grabbed his finger about, took it off, and we're walking out of the stadium that night. M.L. Carr and I mean, M.L. Carr went after Tree Rollins. I can't really say
what was said,
but all I know is every player had each other's back, and that's one thing that was great.
Now you had a little dust up with Frank Johnson, didn't you?
Well, I probably had a few.
Okay, because I was talking to one of my buddies, and we were talking. You know, he's a big basketball historian, and he was ask him about Frank Johnson, because he remembered you had a pretty good dust up with him one time.
I'm going blank. The left-handed, really big player played for. God, had a size 23 shoe.
Oh. Lanier.
No, Lanier.
Bob Lanier, sure.
And one night I made a mistake going after him. And the next day they had a photo of him with his hand around my neck like that. Said, "Aren't you a fool?"
Now you played, you know, Red was he was the GM president basically at the time. Any good stories on our Red and how he was dealing with?
This is how Red was. When my first contract got within 2 years, I had a 5-year deal coming out of college. My father and I walked into his office, sat down, negotiated the whole thing for another 5 years. And that's how he was. You know, he was an easy guy to talk to, smart guy. You know, when he made the trade me for Dennis Johnson, when Casey called me about that, I said, well, at least you sent me to Phoenix where it's warm. You got a player for me.
That's great. That's great. What was your favorite memory, I guess, as a player? Was it winning that championship?
Well, I think on each level, when you finally achieve that goal, there's great memories. You know, the Celtic championship, we just finally achieved it. And it was, I think, even in my high school championship, you know, we all just worked together. I was always blessed to be on great teams of guys that liked each other. Sure. And I think it's what makes your championship teams now. You know, you can tell when players really believe in one another. So,
all right. Well, I can't thank you enough for taking some time out of your schedule. And the stories are phenomenal.
Well,
I love hearing the stories. They never get old. All right. Thank you again for your time. I
Right.
really appreciate it, Rick.
talk to you.
How about that?
That UW Green Bay education communications major.
Why so much Wisconsin
I'm
talk
sorry.
tonight? Just everything else. Is there like a snow cone place in Marinette you want to talk about and give a plug right now?
I will say it was fun interviewing Rick. He had some pretty good stories from his playing days, and I mean he was really good at the University of Kentucky.
Yeah.
And then of course with the Celtics, he was on that championship team, and we've got his actual NBA championship ring.
That's unreal.
And the
Bird's first title.
His first title. He took the ball after the game. When the game ended, he grabs the ball, brought it into the locker room, got all the teammates to sign it, and Red Auerbach, I think he got back in Boston, he might have gotten. And then he put it in his duffel bag and had somebody put this beautiful, 1981.
The painting like
yeah,
they used to do.
Yeah, they did just a wonderful job on that. So.
That's cool. That ball is really special piece. That
It is.
With the provenance coming from him, and that it was the ball when the clock expired, and it's probably got champagne on it.
It was in great shape. He took great care of it. The autographs were all like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. But just the way that he had that stenciling done, he did a wonderful job. There's no peeling or anything like that. So, so it's just a remarkable piece of Celtics history.
Yeah. And we've got the other side of that rivalry in this next item, the Los Angeles Lakers. 2020 bubble year, they won the title. LeBron, as he promised the Lakers fans he would. And being LA, as you might imagine, they did a very simple ring with not many frills,
no frills
or specialties about it. No, it is a really unbelievable ring. We've seen a lot of championship rings here at Heritage. We're very lucky. And this is one of the most extravagant, I would say. And it even comes with a box that holds the ring. You open the top, it shines a light on the ring, and the ring spins around.
There's a lot of bells and whistles on that one. But again, it's LA, so they have to be a little over the top.
Of course. And that's the first example from that bubble season that's come out, the first championship ring. And I mean, it's just choked with diamonds.
And it's their
jewels.
most current ring too.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of collectors.
You think they're going to win it this year? How are they looking so far?
They're looking at the play-in game, and
I mean, if you got LeBron, you got a chance. But...
I mean, LeBron, AD. I don't know about Westbrook, but that being said, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't count them out quite yet.
All right. What do you got? Let's talk some more NBA stuff.
When you think of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you think of those unmistakable goggles which he wore for the majority of his career. We have an actual pair of game-used Kareem goggles.
Cool.
Yeah, and I love the way he signed them. And then there's the reinforcement tape on the back. They show great use. And when you think of Tom Landry, you think of the hat. When you think of Kareem, you think of the skyhook and the goggles.
Of course.
So it's a really cool piece. It's at 5,500 right now, but it ends tomorrow. So
that's an eye-catching one. If you buy it and you have it on display,
Yeah.
A lot of people got jerseys. There's even people, of course, with sneakers, but not many game-worn goggles out there in collections. And you couldn't have a more iconic pair as far as that goes.
I mean, to play as long as he did, the records that he set, and the MVPs, the finals, he did everything. I
mean, those goggles are so iconic. When he was in Airplane, they had a part where he was wearing the goggles as well. Little cut. And this whole 80s rivalry coming up.
You want to talk the bad boy of them all, Bill Laimbeer. And this came in at a show we were doing, and I'll never forget when I saw it. I'm like, wow, you never see Laimbeer. And then when I looked at the white striping around the shoulders and the neck, it turned like a bluish color from being washed so much. And I'm like, I bet this is a good jersey. And lo and behold, we got it photo matched to 7 games.
Including the finals, correct?
Including the finals. You don't see a lot of Laimbeer stuff. And I know very, very polarizing figure. But that being said, he was a really good player. Was he dirty or not? That's you can talk about that
I
all
don't
you
know if
want.
it's up for debate at all.
Yeah, he was pretty brutal.
But I mean, that was the era,
It
and
was,
that's
it
what's
was.
cool about having a gamer from him is it saw some use under
Exactly.
the boards, battering the star centers of the time, and probably hit a few threes in that too.
Just to watch the games from back then. I mean, my God, how physical it was. And but no, I mean, it's a great jersey from Bill Lambier, and I mean, it's photo match, and that's the thing that's going to put it over the top.
Yeah, very cool item. And next, I'm going to talk about. I'm going back, Tony.
How far back are we going?
Way back.
Oh, you're going way. Okay.
It's actually right behind you, right over your right shoulder, right there.
I won't make any sudden movements.
Yeah, be very careful, please. This is the 1898 National Ball League Championship Trophy. It's the earliest known trophy, basketball trophy for a professional title.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the sport was incredibly early at that point. And so this league ran for 6 seasons. It was mainly focused in Philadelphia, and one of the wealthy denizens of the city of brotherly love was a huge basketball fan. After he passed, the people handling his estate had this trophy made to go to the winner of the league. And it operated for 6 years. It has the winners listed on it, and it comes from the estate of Elwood Dope Gowdy.
Oh,
great name.
What a name.
Great name. He was on the last team that won it, so he held on to the trophy. The league folded. He said, I guess I'll hold on to this. It's been in his family ever since, and that is a super unique basketball item. You know, the basketball market has been so hot all across vintage and modern. The modern has been really hot, of course, especially with Jordan, but this is one of the oldest basketball items you could get, and somebody's going to win it tonight.
Yeah. A couple bids: Mantle, Stahlmeyer, 130, Amelia Earhart, 230,000 right now.
Wow.
So there's some spirited bidding going on that lot. What else we got? Jack McCartan.
Oh, yeah.
Team USA, 16,000. That one's seen a lot of action today as well. So
yeah, Jack McCartan, he was on that 1960 U.S. Olympic hockey team. 20 years before the Miracle on Ice, they upset the hugely favored Canadians. The U.S. team was not supposed to make the medal portion of the games. They did. They won all 9 games they played. McCartan was voted the most outstanding goalie at the games, and they won the gold medal. The first gold medal for Team USA hockey. And we've got the gold medal. We've got his jerseys that
Those
he
are
wore.
such beautiful jerseys.
Really awesome warm-up jacket as well, with that 60s American look to it. Very cool stuff there. And Tony, you're going to talk about
I'm
some
up
rings.
next with,
These are very cool.
Yeah, when I saw that we had these, I was shocked. I mean, when I was growing up, this was the basketball team, the Fab Five. Michigan Wolverines, they went to 2 straight championship games. They lost them both, but for making the Final Four, you do get a ring, and we have both of Jalen Rose's Final Four rings, which for a Michigan collector, there's not much better.
Oh yeah,
they ruled the basketball scene. I mean, it was almost like a traveling NBA team, almost like Michael Jordan. It was, and have 5 freshmen start. I don't think that'll ever happen again. Not to the magnitude of
Jackson was from local guy from Plano.
Oh, is he? He's from here? Okay.
Yeah, Plano East.
Okay. Yeah. And then, I mean, Juwan Howard, Chris Webber, of course, Jalen Rose and Jimmy King.
And they were a cultural thing too. You know, they wore the black socks. On the playground, you'd see everybody was wearing the black socks, baggy shorts. Yes, of course. You know, that ring, if not for Webber's timeout, could have been a title.
Could have been different.
You know, and they were a dominant team, of course.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, it was so much fun to watch them play. And they just had a spirit. They had just a level that they were so far superior than everybody else, it seemed like. And
Webber, of course, was the top guy on that team, but Jalen Rose was number 2. And especially if you look at the NBA careers, he had an outstanding career. And still putting in work, still got his name out there. Great commentator as well. So prominent figure, very cool.
Yeah, if you're gonna own if you're gonna have a Michigan ring, that's the one I would say to have would be his. I mean, Weber, I don't think will ever sell his, but
Probably
Jalen
not.
Rose, I mean, just a great career, and he's still relevant now because he's in the media and he does so much. He's always getting his name out there. So
Definitely.
really cool pieces.
All right, let's hear a couple bids, and then we're going to take another
All right.
short break.
Oh, Ted Williams, the vault marked PSA 10 bat, 250,000.
Wow.
Mantle, Stahlmeyer, 135. There's a lot of. We were just talking during the break, and I think this auction is going to go on very late tonight.
Yeah. So everybody, get some snacks, get a couple beverages, whatever you're
Beef
drinking.
jerky and Mountain
sit in.
Dew.
If you're
Where's
watching
Tommy?
us on the Facebook page, you can pull up the other browser and pull up the recent bid screen and watch the bids come in live, just like we are. But let's take a second and take a look at some of the incredible items that are closing tonight.
They represent the start of two of the greatest dynasties in basketball history. The Ones, a groundbreaking sculpture of leather and rubber that has become permanently ingrained in American cultural iconography. Of course, the tiny fraction of those inaugural Air Jordans worn by their namesake as he performed feats never seen before occupy the pinnacle of the sneaker hierarchy. This pair has been photomatched to April 1st, 1986 action at Mecca Arena in Milwaukee, a contest that saw His Airness, still nursing a broken foot suffered in late October, come off the bench to score 28 points in 26 minutes to lead the Bulls. The photo match provided by McGwire comes from a production defect on the tongue of the right shoe, missing a punch where the third from the top should be at the interior ankle, making these the only pair of Air Jordan 1s photo matched to game action. Jordan would claim his first scoring title at the close of this 1985-86 season, with a career-best 37.1 points per game, the first of 10 seasons as the NBA's most potent offensive weapon. It's the most iconic style of footwear, worn by the game's greatest player at the genesis of his career, legendary gamers that will find a new home on February 26th.
1986 Fleer basketball set is the most important basketball set in existence. It's what set the stage for modern basketball collectors. It's Michael Jordan's rookie year. It is constantly setting records at PSA 10 levels, PSA 9 levels. It's one of the most iconic cards, not in basketball history, but in sports history. Offered at Heritage in our Platinum Night auction is a PSA 10 complete set, all 132 cards in PSA 10. And looking at the PSA set registry, only 30 people or so have actually accomplished this feat. Fewer people have accomplished this set in PSA 10 than have climbed Everest. This is one of those sets where the people who own it, they keep it, they don't break it up, and whoever is looking to complete this set can go through the year-long process or years-long process of trying to accumulate these cards, or they can get it in one lump sum. This is going to sell for a record price. We're really, really excited to see where this ends up. This is ending February 26th and February 27th at ha.com during a Platinum Night auction. In our February 26th and 27th Platinum Night auction is a 2003 Topps Chrome Gold Refractor LeBron James rookie. It's a BGS 8.5. This card in higher grade has sold as high as almost $1 million, $900,000 very recently. It'll be interesting to see where this particular card in this grade ends up. This is new to the hobby. We just got this graded. It is one of the pivotal cards in LeBron James's career, and it is one of the most iconic cards for modern basketball. It ends February 26th, 27th. We're really looking forward to seeing where this one ends up. In our February 26th and 27th Platinum Night auction is a 2003 Topps Chrome Gold Refractor LeBron James rookie. It's a BGS 8.5. This card in higher grade has sold as high as almost $1 million, $900,000 very recently. It'll be interesting to see where this particular card in this grade ends up. This is new to the hobby. We just got this graded. It is one of the pivotal cards in LeBron James's career, and it is one of the most iconic cards for modern basketball. It ends February 26th, 27th. We're really looking forward to seeing where this one ends up. Featured in our February Platinum Night auction is a 2018 National Treasures Luca Doncic RPA. It's numbered out of 99. It's a PSA 10 with a 10 auto. This card is a beast. This card has recently sold for almost $800,000, and it has continued to go up in value as Luca has continued to play very well. And what we're most excited about to see here is whether this trend continues and whether or not the trend of quality over quantity is more prevalent in modern card collecting. And what we're looking for here is to see where this one ends up, because it has ramifications throughout the entire hobby. This is an important sale, and it ends February 26th and 27th at ha.com. Our 2009 Bowman Draft Picks and Prospects Mike Trout Printing Plate Auto. This is a BGS 9 10 auto. This is extremely high grade for a printing plate, which are usually very, very condition sensitive. This is much rarer than the orange refractor, which is numbered out at 25, and much rarer than the gold refractor at 50, and it should sell for somewhere around that. This is going to be hopefully record breaking for a printing plate, and it's going to do very, very well, especially given how it is a one of one. The super refractor is a $4-5 million card. This card can be had for a fraction of that.
How about that?
Not bad at all.
Our New York rep, Jason Simons. See, we got Simons and Simmons.
That's tough.
So
that's tough, yeah.
But they are on different sides. Jason works out of our New York office. So if you're in the New York area, you can stop by there. He'd love to hear from you. And
nice thing with him is he does cards and memorabilia.
Yeah.
So he
does
knows
it all.
both of them. He does.
Former accountant also, I learned
I
last
never knew that.
time. Yeah. So yeah, one of the newer members, not the newest. We've added a few faces recently, but Tony, a lot of excitement.
Oh my
going
goodness,
on.
the bid board is going crazy right now.
Yeah, so the Jordan ticket hit 300, the only known full debut. You know, it's already passed the record price for a ticket, and then the Jackie Robinson debut ticket, which is sitting right there in front of you, came storming back. It's at 370,000 right now. Are there any other updates? What you got?
Let's see. The Olympic Team USA jersey, 18,500.
Very cool.
Abraham Lincoln signed Pardon and Discharge, 13,000.
Another cool historical piece we have.
One of the really neat ones, the Jack Ruby signed fingerprint card from the arrest for the murder of Lee Harvey Oswald, 29,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of variety in this sale. It's not just sports. Some of our best items are, Americana items.
Yeah, some of the most interesting ones. Of course, at Heritage, we have 45 different departments. So whatever you collect,
45
45 plus
okay.
is what I've been instructed to say. So whatever you collect, whatever you're interested in, there's a home for it here at Heritage. And whatever you're going to collect next, we've got that for you too. Got the video games department, of course, and we're about to roll out VHS tape auctions. Tony, I know you're a big VHS
I threw mine away.
The only thing Tony's ever thrown away.
I was shamed into it. Mine were not sealed, though, so I don't feel quite as bad.
So that's the modern side of the hobby there. Let's take it back to the earliest days of the national pastime. And this is...
You love the vintage stuff.
Yeah. It usually has great mustachery on it. And this is no exception here. This is an 1888 World Series scorecard. Unbelievable how old this is. Still bright and vibrant.
Oh, look at the colors on that.
You can see, I know you're going to ask, Tony, so I'm going to get right out in front of this, that it has the dates 89 and 1889 on there, but this is from 1888. That dating is a long abandoned policy as of designating teams as the reigning champions of the subsequent season rather than how we do it as the conquerors of the current season. So this one has the St. Louis Browns pictured on the front cover. They finished first among the 8 American Association teams, 1885, 86, 87, and this 88, when they played the New York Giants, who won their first National League pennant this year. So the modern World Series, featuring the pennant winners of the NL and the AL that we're all familiar with, began in 1903. We've talked about that a little. The first championship series between rival leagues ran from 1884 until 1890. It was the American Association and the
I never knew
National.
that.
So this was the 5th edition. Best of 10, Tony. You ever been to a game 10 of a World Series?
Not.
No? Still no?
Much less a game 8 either.
So interesting in this one, the Giants claimed their clinching 6th victory in the game, in game 8, but the final 2 games were played anyway for revenue purposes. And guess what? The Browns won both of those.
they were celebrating the
so we're certain that this one comes from a St. Louis home game. You got the Browns on the front cover, and you've got Charles Comiskey ad on the inside on the top. And the Browns were a great team, of course, but look at the powerhouse the Giants had on there, brimming with future Hall of Fame talent. You got Ewing, Connor, Ward, O'Rourke, Keith, and Welch on there.
They were all on the same team?
All on the same team. And, of course, beautifully depicted. And look at those mustaches, Tony. That's fantastic stuff right there. And then we've got another fantastic program here along the same lines.
I love the quality
and
of
this
it.
one is a holy grail. This is a 1903 World Series program. So as we said, 1903, the first modern World Series, the first World Series. And so the first Fall Classic, and this one was the Red Sox first victory here. As we talked about earlier when we were talking about Wagner, they played the Pirates, defeated the Pirates. You got twin portraits of dueling Hall of Fame player managers Jimmy Collins and Fred Clark right there. And this was from Game 2, Friday, October 2nd, 1903. Red Sox victory. And Red Sox ace Bill Dineen was brilliant. Complete game victory, only faced 29 batters.
Wow.
Yeah, so dominating performance. And I mean, this is a relic from a bygone era. The great advertising, it's in fragile condition, as you might imagine, but only a handful known. And somebody's going to get one tonight.
That is incredible. No, I just love the quality of those programs. I mean, especially the one from 1888. I mean, they have the vibrant colors, and it just
like
jumps
the portraits
up.
overlaid on each other of the players. Yeah, that one is really a nice piece.
Jack Ruby, 36,000 right now.
Talk about a one-of-a-kind piece right there.
It is. Richie Ashburn, 1980 World Series ring.
That's a cool one. The franchise's first championship and a ring from one of their most beloved players.
Absolutely.
And in the Hall of Fame now.
Yep.
And what other baseball items you want to talk about,
Tony? This one here, when it first came in, I was you don't see his autograph all that often. 1941 Grover Cleveland Alexander signed photograph. Back then it wasn't easy to get a hold of 8x10 photos. It's not like today where they print off 10,000 of them. Back then it was much more difficult. And Grover Cleveland Alexander, as we all know, had a lot of demons, and his post baseball life was a struggle. And
tragically,
absolutely. And we have a signed 8x10 photo of him, dated to 1941, with a nice salutation. And we also have a Hall of Fame postcard.
That's super rare.
And I think that's got an estimate of like 60,000 on it. And again, just to get to him was incredibly difficult because he drank a lot, and he had
he ended up in a halfway house at the
did.
end of his life. Died at his typewriter, I believe.
Is that what?
He was writing a letter.
Yeah. Even when you see photos of him at the first Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, he just looks rough, haggard, and just kind of a tragic figure in baseball history. But a really cool autograph on a hard to find medium signed by him, an 8x10 photo.
And now we're finally going to get to some gamers, right, Tony?
I've been waiting for this.
I knew you had.
1965 Harmon Killebrew. Game used, Twins jersey, heavy wear, heavy use on it. It's got in the tail, it's got Killebrew It's got his number and then the size and the year. Just excellent use on this jersey. Had to have worn it for half the season.
Yep.
And they also won the American League that year. So a lot of bells and whistles on this one. He is the signature star for the Twins organization.
No question.
I mean, I was a Puckett guy, but I'll be honest. Killebrew just he was such a gentleman too. And he was a great spokesman for the team.
And I love this next one. Beautiful style.
Yeah. We're getting into the early knits, 1973. It's the feather. I think it's the feather design on the sleeve ends. But this one here is photo matched to home run 686. As we know, I mean, photo matching takes things to a whole different level. I think for the longest time, I know we've had this conversation before. Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, their material should have been worth more.
Right.
And it's starting to catch up now. You want to talk an investment piece? This is a great investment piece.
And the same style he was wearing when he broke Babe Ruth's record, that
very
iconic
good
footage.
Yep.
That's just burned into people's memory, that style, the blue and the 44, of course.
And just if you look at the back numbers, it's an intricate design, just beautifully cut numbers. There's just a lot of things. This thing really would look great on a mannequin, of course.
Yeah,
but
Tony is in the pocket of big mannequin.
Yeah.
If you've seen his office on any of our Instagram lives,
I've actually toned it down a little bit.
He's got a mannequin guy.
Big mannequin fan.
So this next one of my favorite items, we've talked about it a little bit. The Ted Williams bat from 1947. Tony, look up where it's at right now with bids. But this is one of the finest. 250,000. One of the finest Williams bats in the hobby and the greatest hitter of all time. Prove me wrong. Change my mind.
And when it's game you signed, vault mark. It's got everything, and it's a 10. I mean, if you want to, if you're looking for the Williams bat, this would be it.
Yeah, and so his totals that season: batting average 343, 32 home runs, 162 RBIs, 125 run scores, 634 slugging, and total bases 335. Wow. One of his best seasons, and he had many incredible seasons. And as you said, it's vault marked. So why don't you explain what that means a little bit?
What they would do is once a player had a bat, that he really liked, they wanted to use it as a template for future bats. So what they do is they would send it back to Louisville Slugger, and then they would take the dimensions. They would write a lot of times with a grease pen the player's name, the date they got it back. So they're really coveted in the collecting industry, of course, because it's one of his favorite models.
Right.
So that's what they would do. That's how they marked them. That's how they measured them and weighed them and all that kind of stuff. So,
and this one's stamped on the end, W148 for Williams, the 148th one that they'd made off of the original model.
So
right there.
It's such a cool piece. And
35 inches, 31 ounces of greatness right there, Tony. Unbelievable item. All right. Hit the bid board one more time.
All right. How much time we have? We have 14 minutes to get that initial bid in.
This is for session 1. Session 2 closes tomorrow night. You can bid all night on session 2. But if there's something you got to have in session 1 and you haven't bid yet, get on it.
And you can bid all night tonight, too.
If you've been waiting your whole life for an Amelia Earhart cap, this is the night you get it, but you got to get your bid in right now.
1951 Bowman Mantle, PSA 8, 330,000.
That's a card that's been seeing a lot of traction lately.
It has. 52 Bowman Mays, mint 9, 310,000. So you're seeing a lot of the vintage cards move. The one we were talking about, Sadahara O rookie, the gold border, 36,000. So
only 7 of those gold borders are in the PSA population, and this is the highest graded one by 2 full points.
Wow. Yeah.
So the finest Sadahara and rarest, the finest of the rarest Sadahara rookie right there.
Honus Wagner's 1939 Hall of Fame watch, 36,000.
Wow,
so
talk about a one of one there.
I know, and I love the way that they engraved it on the back. It's a really cool piece.
So we've got 3 fantastic monster gamers, baseball gamers, but one from a basketball player, and we're going to check out those 3 highlights right now.
This flannel was worn by the legendary Mickey Mantle as he struck the penultimate home run of his storied career, number 535. An event filed under the bold headline of The Gift in baseball history. A heartwarming tale of how Denny McLain engaged in the final 30-win season ever registered in the majors, essentially served up batting practice to a faded legend on the brink of retirement, allowing Mantle to homer near the end of a game and an American League season already safely in the hands of the Detroit Tigers. Mantle would launch his 536th and final career home run the day after McLain's free pass, a solo shot off visiting Boston Red Sox ace Jim Lomberg on September 20th. Remarkably, that same towering right-hander would face Mantle in his final career plate appearance as the Yanks closed out the 1968 season at Fenway Park. Batting third, Mantle would pop out to Rico Petrocelli at shortstop in the top of the first and then take a seat in the Yankees' dugout. After 2,401 regular season appearances, one of the greatest careers in baseball history was over. Difficult and painstaking study of the limited photography and television footage from the Mick's last stand that uses the unique arch of the New York lettering on the chest and the positioning of the fabled number 7 on the back to also establish this garment as the one the Mick wore for that final game in a Yankee uniform. The instant that Petrocelli gloved Mantle's pop-up on September 28, 1968, a history dating back nearly a half-century came to an end. With the exception of 3 seasons during the Second World War, an all-time legend of the game had actively served as the face of the New York Yankees and of Major League Baseball itself. From Ruth to Gehrig, to DiMaggio, to Mantle, this unbroken chain bound countless American hearts to our national pastime and powered an era of glory unlike any other in sports history. Place this jersey at the center of 100 years of Yankee history and make it one of the most significant Mantle items in private hands. On February 26th, this museum-quality gamer will find a place in a new collection.
This is one of the more unique catalog listings we have in our Platinum Night auction. This was worn by Roger Maris in 1959, and then in subsequent seasons what they did is they would wear them for a year and then send them down to the minors or wear them in spring training the following year. This was worn by Raleigh Fingers when he was making his move up to the major leagues in spring training, linking 2 American League MVPs, which I have never heard of that ever happening again. Basically, a player would just grab a jersey and wear it following it in spring training. And this has got athletics across the front and then Maris's number 3 on the back. If you look in the collar, it's got Maris chain stitched. And there's also a year tag in the tail. And topping it off is, of course, the unmistakable elephant on baseball patch with chenille threads, which collectors absolutely love. The only time I have ever seen 2 American League MVPs linked together and with a hand-me-down jersey, which is still in pretty nice condition. Of the only known Michael Jordan game-used baseball jersey that is photo matched. It's got the Barons and 45 on the front, and then it's got the oversized 45 on back, and it's signed by Michael Jordan. We sold a pair of spikes for $93,000 a few years ago. Of course, since The Last Dance aired, a lot of people are investing and collecting Michael Jordan. This one here is by far the nicest baseball jersey you could ever own, especially because it's photo matched. It's photo matched by 3 of the photo matching companies as well. So just probably the nicest Michael Jordan baseball jersey that I've ever seen.
Impressive stuff there. I love that Jordan Barons gamer.
Photo matched. The only known photo matched baseball jersey of his.
Yeah, and he only played 127 games or so, so tiny sample of baseball gamers for Jordan there. But let's talk about another gamer, Tony, from another legend.
Willie McCovey, MVP season game-worn jersey. I'm sorry, yes, from his second season. This is likely photo matched, but again, a great use on this. It's got the Giants, of course, on the front, and then the retired 44 on the back, McCovey on a swatch in the collar. Just an unbelievable gamer that is, likely photo matched. Back then, the photography wasn't quite as good,
Right.
and which makes it a bit of a challenge. But we talk about Aaron, and then you also talk about Mays. Now McCovey's another one that I think should start to see sizable gains in some of his game used uniforms.
And we sold the McCovey collection.
We did.
Consigned by his widow last summer, and some huge numbers for that. And this one should have a nice return as well.
I think it will. Yeah.
This next one, very cool item. I'd never seen this before, but it's a 1985 Pete Rose
that you like
original limited edition screen print by Andy Warhol. And basically what this is, Andy Warhol's take on a baseball card. And he got one of the greatest
It's an
players
85
of all.
tops. It looks just like the 85 tops card does. And he did a wonderful job on that.
So Rose had never heard of Warhol. Warhol had
Really?
never heard of Rose. But the
Didn't know
Cincinnati Art Museum commissioned Warhol, $100,000 commission, to do a piece in 1985 as Rose edged closer to Cobb's record. And Warhol purchased the rights to an image from Cincinnati photographer Gordon Bear. That's what he used. He made 4 color variation prints, and they were the star of the exhibition, of course, in the fall and winter of 85. So the commission also stipulated that they would make 50 signed prints, which quickly sold out for $2,500 at the time in 1985. And they are highly sought after by baseball collectors and art collectors alike, and especially anyone that's both, which we have a lot of clients like that at Heritage with our fantastic art department. So this is number 23 of 50. It's signed by Warhol, very limited. And yeah, so cool to have an art icon, his take on a baseball card here. And so they sold for $2,500 and turned out to be a good investment.
I mean, he was the
Whoever bought
biggest
this
thing
one.
too. I mean, Pete Rose was at the time, he was going for Ty Cobb's record.
Right.
And so he was, he was the toast of baseball back then.
And then next we've got one of my favorite photographs in the auction. We have an incredible selection of original Type 1 photos. And this is one of the most famous photos in baseball history, in sports history. The haunting study of fame and mortality titled "The Babe Bows Out" by the legendary Nat Fane. And so it's from 1948. This is a Pulitzer Prize winning photograph right here. It's Type 1, of course, and it's signed by the photographer. And it's oversized, Tony. This one's 14 by 9.5. And great image here. I love about this one is it was jersey retirement ceremony. He's using the bat. What made him an immortal now is supporting him. And you can see the other photographers on the right getting ready to get a shot of him. Fane was the only one who went to this angle behind him because he thought the number 3 was the story of the day.
That's interesting.
And very interesting angle. Yeah, you can see the whole crowd out in front of him.
You can see the stadium. You can see you can see the team. Yeah, that angle. Who would have
you ever
thought
seen those other photographers' shots of this?
We haven't.
We have not. But yeah, a legendary photograph, and as a Type 1, really important piece there.
Michael Jordan, 310,000 now.
The full ticket.
The Mantle Franks card, 145.
Got the 52 tops mantle, and a PSA 8 is at 925 right now.
Goodness.
That's going to be going in extended bidding. People getting their bids in right now.
Yeah,
for
just
it.
getting that last bid in before it all starts. In 4 minutes, you still have 4 minutes left before we start extended bid
for session 1.
For session 1, and that's when the gloves come off.
All right, what do you got over there?
Okay, so I've got. You mentioned photographs. This is one of of my favorite photographs. It's a Joe DiMaggio signed George Burke. It's the original photograph used for his play ball card. This came in
memorable image.
Oh my goodness, yeah! This came into the Chicago office, and the guy, he has found some really good sports photos. Well, the first thing is, are they going to pass the autograph? Then are they going to give it a Type 1 status? They did on both of them. And right now it's at 7250. it ends tomorrow night, and just a really, really cool photo, of course, of DiMaggio, a younger DiMaggio. His whole career's ahead of him.
Yep.
It's the
Kid right there.
I know, and it's signed, and it's got the nice vintage autograph too. It's not signed in blue Sharpie from 1985. It's a vintage autograph. It's a George Burke. So again, you're pulling from a lot of angles on that one.
Nice one.
Mm-hmm.
And this next piece is one of the most unique items we've ever offered, and one of the most significant.
We've offered a lot
awards.
of things too.
I know that's a big category,
That's
but this is in there, and one of the most significant baseball awards that exists. This is the 1939 Baseball Hall of Fame Grand Opening Induction wristwatch presented to Honus Wagner. So
that one's actually
class.
That one's been climbing up a bit. It's at 45,000 right now. So you're starting to see some people
that's
jockeying on that
a one of a kind item there.
It is.
So only 11 of these were made for the 11 living members from that first induction. You can see the inscription there on the back of the watch. And it was given to him on June 12, 1939, when they were inducted into the Hall of Fame. And he was the first infielder to gain Cooperstown immortality. And of the 11 made, you would say this is in the top 3 of the most desirable.
Absolutely.
Ruth, Cobb, and then Wagner would be number 3. And somebody's going to take this. This should be in Cooperstown.
Absolutely,
this would be a museum quality piece. You said that a lot tonight. This certainly qualifies. And somebody's going to add it to their personal collection tonight.
We always talk about names that transcend generations. He's one of them,
definitely.
And from the earliest of days, that's one name that is always. And of course, whenever you go to Pittsburgh, he was born, raised, and died there, so he is still a very important part of that organization.
And this next one, speaking of Cooperstown, this is a 1987 Catfish Hunter Baseball Hall of Fame induction ring. So same thing. He made it to the hall. This is what he got when he was standing on the podium up there, and it's consigned by his son. Comes with a letter of provenance from his son, but sign of baseball immortality here.
These rarely are offered.
Yes,
because they usually stay within a family, and if there's one thing that they keep, it's the ring. And to get one, and I mean, Catfish Hunter is a big
5
big
championships.
Name. Yeah, I mean, he was like the
first
free agent,
big money free agent.
He was the first really big free agent. So
great nickname as well.
Yes,
supplied by
Whenever I'm writing up his name, I never write Jim Hunter.
No,
it's just Catfish.
You'd be hard pressed. Not many people even know Jim. Outside of the baseball fans, everybody's Catfish.
Wow, Mantle 937,500.
There we go.
Wow.
And have we talked about any autographed baseballs yet?
We're at 10 o'clock right now, guys.
10 o'clock. Extended bidding has begun. Tony, let's talk about these 2 baseballs.
Yeah, so we had an interesting collection come to us. It's the number 2 single sign Hall of Fame baseball collection on the PSA set registry. And it was, I think, 66 baseballs and just some really, really incredible names.
And tough ones.
Yeah. I mean, and, at the center, we have a Walter Johnson single sign ball. That's just an incredibly hard autograph to find, especially a single sign ball.
Yes.
And we also have a Roberto Clemente, and that one has a grade of near mint 8. So there's 66 baseballs. Those end tomorrow night. So we're starting to see movement on those, and it's going to continue, of course, through the night and into tomorrow.
Yeah, and if you're a single sign baseball collector and you want to upgrade your collection, there's some high grade ones and some tough to find ones. As you said, it was number 2 on the registry. So now it's being dispersed into the hobby, and you've got a chance to move yours up the registry if you're into that, and we know you are. All right, what's getting hit right now, Tony?
Okay.
Then we're going to take another break.
Oh, the Mantle, $1.2 million.
No surprise there.
That got hit twice, actually 3 times. So, wow, yeah, that.
Somebody's staking their claim right when extended bidding starts. They put in the bid right away.
I always love when somebody bids. There's 10, 9, 8, and there's a couple times I've seen it where there's literally 4 seconds, 3 seconds bid, and then you start that 30 minutes all over again.
I have one client that lives in Hawaii, and he thinks he's got a distinct time advantage out there, and he does exactly that. little gamesmanship with the 30-minute countdown clock. So extended bidding has begun for session 1. We're going to stay on and talk about what's going on there and highlight some of the items from session 2 tomorrow night. which there's over 1,000 items and more incredible material. You can bid on that all night. Extended bidding for session 2 begins at 10 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. So, Tony, let's look at some highlights of some of the game-used bats in the auction.
1965 to 68 Willie Mays game-used bat, graded PSA DNA game-used 9.5. In the last 6 months, we've seen an explosion in the game-used bats. A lot of investors are buying high-end Hall of Fame bats, and this is one of the nicest Mays bats that you can find. Of course, it's got the high grade, but right now I think it's at $28,000, and just great use throughout. It does have some checking on the back barrel from repeatedly making contact. It does have the 24 on the end of the knob. High-end from Willie Mays from pretty much the main portion of his career. He was winning MVPs and home run titles during that time period. Great use, just an outstanding game-used bat from Willie Mays. I have first is Johnny Bench game-used bat, graded 8.5 by PSA DNA. Really cool thing on this bat is it actually has the date it was broken or cracked. So August 19th, 1974. Excellent use with pine tar on the handle. A lot of divots from hitting his spikes. Great use, great bat of who's widely considered the greatest catcher of all time, Johnny Bench game. This is a 1989 game-used Ken Griffey Jr. rookie bat. You can find some of the bats from later in his career. He marketed some of his material, but this is really rare. Now his dad was also on the team, but this bat record is only for Ken Griffey Jr., not Sr. There's some ball marks on the front barrel. Pretty good use throughout. Of course, there's a really nice ball mark and checking on the back barrel. A very significant bat, graded PSA DNA game used 8.5. Just a fantastic early career Ken Griffey Jr. game used bat. This may be the best Mark McGwire game-used bat in the hobby. This was used actually in the 1988 World Series, used to hit a game-winning home run in Game 3. McGwire signed it and also added that he did use it in the game, but we did photo match it. If you look on the back barrel here, there are red marks, red stamping marks, and that's from, in the World Series, they used different baseballs than what they did in the regular season. They actually used baseballs with red stamping on it, so it's got great use. It is photo matched to the big home run. Right now, this is at $15,000. It had an $8,000 estimate. Great pine tar, a lot of hit marks, and there are some green bat rack marks from when he would take it out of the bat rack. So, one of the nicest Mark McGwire game-used bats I have ever seen, and it sold after the World Series and has never appeared in an auction since. Really cool bat, Mark McGwire game-used.
Tony, we've got some fireworks on the bid board. Look at him, you caught him right then.
$1.4 million for the Mickey Mantle jersey.
Whoa, Mickey Mantle's final jersey as a Yankee, photo match to his last appearance. Lined out to first base, went to the dugout, and that was it.
This is the third 10 that we've sold it, and that as
it just
technology evolves, and now it's photo matched.
Oh, if you look at the image, the online listing for that 68 Mantle jersey, the extensive video and photo matching that was done from 1968, tough to find good images of it. But yeah, last time we sold it, it had been matched to his penultimate home run. That means second to last, Tony.
Sure.
And
I was going to ask. I was going to give you a look like, what are you talking about?
And the person who bought it put in the work. They got another match and matched it to his final game. And now it's well beyond what he paid for. I believe it was 800 and
it was 800. Oh, it's going to be
4 or 5 years ago.
2003 Topps Chrome LeBron James Gold Refractor, $300,000.
Wow, huge price for that card.
Michael Jordan photo match jersey that you talked about, $160,000. So, a lot of spirited bidding going on right now.
Definitely. Now let's talk about some of the items that are coming up tomorrow. You got another great photograph.
This one I don't know why. I just thought this was a cool thing. It's the original photo that was used for the 100-point game program cover.
That's right.
It's a smaller I think it's what size is this? Okay, 7x5. Right now it's at 1150, but when you see that program, that's the actual photo. That's
And
the
good addition. We've
it's
got
a Type 1.
in this auction. We got a ticket from his 100-point game and the
program.
program, and then this photo that was used from the program. So I say scoop all three up at once, put them all together on one shelf in your wherever you display your collection. An incredible piece right there.
It is. It is. I think Wilt should get more love, by the way, too.
Yeah.
They had him as number 6.
I mean, they would say during his lifetime he got plenty. Rumored,
allegedly. No, but they had the Athletic did the top 75. They had him as number 6, and I'm thinking there are not 6.
I don't think that would have sat well with him.
Oh my God, no! He would have probably come back and played a couple more years to make sure that the records would have never been touched. But yeah, I'm just thinking there's no way
he could do anything on the court. He led the league in assists one year.
Yeah, that's amazing, amazing.
So another great photo here. Coming up next, this is the early 1940s Niall Kinnick signed photograph. Super tough autograph. If you collect Heisman autographs, he's easily the toughest.
He's the toughest. And we've sold some of the Heisman programs, and what you typically see in him is there's like a 5x7
right
that he signed in. There's like a perfect spot for him to sign it. This is another one. We talked about Grover Cleveland Alexander. This is another one, an 8x10. You never see a Niall Kinnick on an 8x10.
Beautiful large photo. Tragically, he died in a Air Force training accident.
Yes.
In the Pacific during World War II. And here you've got him punting, and it looks like a good punt if you go by the coach's face there. And nice autograph. One of the coolest Kinnick items. Like you said, usually you see the banquet, the Heisman.
That's what you'll typically see.
But a photo like that, unbelievable.
Jordan, game used, Air Jordan 1 sneakers, photo match 550,000.
Wow.
So
that's getting close to the record there, if I can do the math in my head. But yeah, there they are.
Oh, they're right there. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Tommy on it back there. We have a team of 12 people helping us put on this show. Doing everything. Most of it's Tony's hair and makeup.
This
his wardrobe as well. But yeah, right on it there. Next item. Oh, we talked about this with Narrett, the 1967 Ice Bowl ticket, signed by Vince Lombardi.
You got the whole background story to that too from Narrett.
It's awesome.
So that was
his fiance took him to the post-game celebration at the Ice Bowl at Lombardi's house, got this autograph in Lombardi's basement. I'm betting there was an old-fashioned or two mixing around in there.
A couple Manhattans.
New Year's Eve, 1967. I mean, most people know that Kramer was offsides there, but still a big win for the Packers. But a cool item. Next, another ticket. So Tiger Woods tickets. It's been an incredible 6 months for those. So this summer we sold, this is the 1996 Greater Milwaukee Open. Tony, were you at that one?
Milwaukee? I wasn't there.
Another Milwaukee reference
Narrett was
here.
though. Chris was there. He was. I actually have his ticket. He sold me his ticket.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have the stubs.
Is it a PSA 10?
No, there's a big crease right through it. Right through the middle.
So this one is the highest graded, Pop 1, Mint 9. Over the summer we sold an 8. At the time there were only 2 8s, sold for $43,000. And then in November, we sold another 8. At that time, there was 3 8s, Pop 3. That sold for $87,000. This one is the only 9. And Tiger, of course, we just passed the anniversary of his tragic accident. But he's doing better now. Seen him out there swinging. He played in the game with his son. So hopefully we get to see him back out on the course. Can you imagine if he wins another tournament?
Oh, my goodness.
Any tournament, because he's tied with Sam Snead for all-time wins at 82.
Mm-hmm.
So all he needs is that one to put him over the top. And that would be one of the most significant sporting accomplishments of all time.
And I think Tiger's going to remain in the spotlight because his son now is going to, he's going to carry the torch. And I think he's going to always be, he took golf to a different level. We all know that. But now with his son, it's going to keep Tiger's collectibles, keep him still in the forefront, too.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. And another great ticket. I love this one. Talking about, the GOATs, the Tom Brady and Tiger Woods. We had their tickets. Jordan. This is another one on that list. but you might even say on a bigger scale, the global scale, this is a 1958 World Cup ticket, Brazil versus the USSR. And this was Pele's debut at the World Cup. 18-year-old, he led Brazil to their first World Cup title that year in Sweden. And I mean, a monumental performance from one of the youngest players that was out there.
18 years old.
And he would go on to become, I mean, he's still the face of soccer. You know, he's the beautiful game's greatest purveyor. I mean, when he came to the New York Cosmos, he changed American culture. You know, now every kid, American kid, plays soccer when they're growing up.
Yep.
And that was because of that signing towards the end of his career. This is the very beginning right here. Super fragile tickets, so not many have survived. An interesting note on this one. So the Brazilian team did not submit their numbers to the World Cup before the game, so they were randomly assigned numbers, and he got randomly assigned number 10, which is now the most iconic number in soccer. Kids wear it in homage. The greatest players, Messi wears it in homage to Pele. This is the first time he wore number 10 in a game as well. This ticket right there. Cool note. And I would be remiss if we didn't mention this ticket. It's very interesting. You know, we talked about the historical items. This is an entertainment item that we have. 1977 Elvis Presley ticket. This is a full ticket to the King's final performance.
The King bows out.
June 26, 1977. Nicely done. At Market Square Arena. Gave a fantastic show by all accounts. Voice was still strong. You know, he's in the jumpsuit, the sequin jumpsuit at the time. And 3 weeks later, he would tragically die. So this was his last performance. One person didn't go to that final show. This is their ticket. It's a PSA near mint to mint 8, one of just 3 and an 8 and none higher. So a very cool entertainment aspect to the ticket trend that's been going on. And I mean, talking about
the first and the last
cultural figures.
Yeah,
Elvis.
he's one. He was rock and roll.
Yeah,
he was rock and roll. And
while we're talking about historical items, let's talk about that Earnhardt cap. Take a look at what it's at.
290,000.
290,000.
It just got hit.
Yep, just got hit. A huge piece of American history here. A legend, and great story behind this one. And it's photo match, the first historical item we've photo matched.
John Robinson
here. Yeah, John Robinson did it. It's got very unique, the leather on it, stretch patterns, and the pattern on it, and it's a definitive match there. Very cool piece, and from a hero of America right there, first female on transcontinental flight. And she wore that cap during flight as well, flight worn cap.
1.4 million on the mantle jersey. So
very cool piece,
yeah,
that flannel there. And let's do one more historical item. Since we're in Dallas, we got to talk about this. It's a 1963 Jack Ruby fingerprint cards. So the day he famously shot Oswald in the parking lot of the police center, the first murder ever witnessed on live television. What a shocking event. He was booked, and this is what they used to fingerprint him, and it's signed by Ruby. Tony, what's your theory on...
I'll just say this.
I know you're always talking about your conspiracy theories.
No. I'll say this. When I went down there to see it in person, it was just...
Dealey Plaza was just a few blocks from our old
offices, and you just get chills. Yeah, you just get chills. And the one thing I'll say about this piece that's kind of neat is part of his finger was bitten off, I believe.
Yes, his left index finger.
So it's notated on there. If you
that it was amputated.
Yeah, it says.
And purportedly, it was not off in a barroom brawl. Wow. Jack Ruby, a seedy character from the seedy underbelly of Dallas. In fact, when he shot Oswald, the cop that was holding Oswald said, "Damn you, Jack." He knew him because he was a frequently running against the law
in a rough crowd.
Exactly. So there's 6 of these. The FBI has 1. The Dallas Police Department has 3. And the Dallas Sheriff's Office has 1, and this is the only one that's out on the
So that's the only one that's ever going to reach the market. I
Right.
mean, there's no way those other ones would ever
They're
get
not
out.
coming out, especially anything related to the Kennedy assassination.
Exactly.
So how this one came out on the market, someone that worked in the sheriff's department, they were digitizing old documents. This was digitized. He asked if he could keep it. He was allowed to keep it, and it's got a letter of provenance from him, and that's how it made it out into the hobby. And that's, as you said, a one-of-a-kind piece. Those other 5, we're never going to see them again.
I don't think we will. No.
Tony, are you a Simpsons fan?
My mom wouldn't let us watch it. I swear. Dad and Married with Children. She would not let us watch it.
And they were back to back, so you just got the TV off
we
there.
didn't get to watch Fox.
So these next 2, how about a Bart Simpson and a Homer Simpson rookie card?
Is it really?
1993 Skybox Simpsons with a drawing and by Matt Groening on there. Yeah, and so a Gem Mint 10 for both Bart and Homer. And of course, you got the dough there, but very cool items. These will closing tomorrow night. We've sold a couple of these in the past, and they get great numbers, 5-figure numbers. But I love how the frame, you've got the drawing, and
so that's his rookie card.
That's the rookie card right there.
Wow.
And then you got Groening signed his name there at the bottom. Very unique pieces, and we're seeing a lot of interest in.
I saw a lot of action on those.
Yes,
watching the bid board. And
so
I'm like,
there's more entertainment cards coming out now, and this is right in line with those. And one from my wheelhouse of my youth, and one more from the wheelhouse of my youth. This is the 1977 Topps Star Wars Series 1 wax box. 38 open packs in there, Tony. For Darth Vader rookie card, Luke Skywalker rookie card, maybe the C-3PO
Princess
Aero
Leia
card in there.
Oh my.
But very valuable box. There's several series for Star Wars, and this one is the Series 1, which is
those
the
have
most
gone
important.
up. I mean, that's like a $20,000 box now. I think it is.
Yes,
20 or
and
30, and it's just
beautiful. I love the design on it. And from '77, when the movie came out, Star Wars and Lucas were masters of marketing. They changed the game as far as merchandising and marketing movies, and this was part of the process right here. The Star Wars cards, and some of those Star Wars cards have a lot of value now. Those are picking up steam as well, but the box is very popular.
Yeah, and it's such condition sensitive. With those borders, those colorful borders, they chipped easily.
Yes.
Centering, as we all know, is so difficult from back in that time period. So there's a lot of pitfalls. And Star Wars is, it's a whole thing of its own, I guess
That's
you could say.
Thing of its own.
A thing of its
well
own.
Put. What do we got on the bid board? Let's take one more check.
So we've got the Exquisite box from 2003-04 at $60,000.
Nice.
$500
back in the day.
$500.
$60,000.
$11,000 for the Tearaway Tony Dorsett. One item that's really performing well, Maurice Lucas, Kentucky Colonels ABA jersey, $15,000. The signed Gaudy Ruth card, $155,000.
Wow, that is one of only 7 known signs.
Yeah, and those are
33
just.
Gaudy Ruth.
I remember when that was like a $40,000 card at one time.
And it's the one unique one of the 4.
Sure.
The other 4 use the same image.
Yep.
So beautiful green background on that, and a flawless signature from Ruth.
Ali match worn gloves, $41,000. The Plows Candy Honus Wagner, $165,000.
There we go. Those are going to go deep into the night, I believe.
Yeah. I think we're just settling in right now.
So a lot of action going on. We want to thank everybody for joining us. As always, it's a lot of fun. Tony, thank you.
I look forward to this one. This one especially.
The Platinum Night.
Yeah, you just can't top it.
So session 1, extended bidding still going. I recommend you go over to the at ha.com or some bid screen. You can watch all the bids come in live, click on the items, read the stories. Session 2 is going to close tomorrow night, so you can bid on all that. And of course, we're taking in consignments. If you want your items presented the way only Heritage Auctions can present them, please reach out to us. We've got our May
a lot
auction
going on
coming up. We've got some great collections in there. So as far as bidding, we've got our March showcase auction is going to open next weekend. And then we have a David Hall T206 auction coming up in May as well. So a lot going on. We'd love to give you a free appraisal, talk about your collectibles. Tony, how can they reach you?
Tony G at ha.com, 214-409-1997 is my direct line.
And I'm Mike P at ha.com, or you can message us at any of our social media platforms. So thank you to all the consigners who have trusted us with their treasures. It's an honor. Thank you to all the bidders. We couldn't do it without them, of course, and they're having all the fun right now. Please let us know what you're excited about when you won. Hit us up on the social media. And thank you to everyone who helps us put on this show. The team
Our
of 12
staff,
people who's been running around like crazy doing everything. And of course, we always end by thanking our operations crew, the best in the business. They're the one who handle all this material, all your treasures. Nobody does it better. And the volume and the size that we're doing, it's a huge undertaking, and they're the best. And we've got some shows coming up. You can see Derek and Lee out at a few shows.
Chicago,
Tony, I'm sure you'll be out there.
Chicago's coming up in March, and then Strongsville's, because I'll be at that one for sure. So
get your bear hugs at Strongsville.
Yes, a lot of them to give out too.
Good luck in the auction tonight. Happy bidding, and we'll see you soon.